You're probably going to be surprised. You wake up the next morning, you
Hello, everybody.
almost
Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys got to listen to the first show.
feeling at second. That's an eighth walk for the Tigers hitters today. Mentioned Dylan Dingler when he pitched in the eighth. Didn't think he was going to get a second AP. No, definitely not. But such is life. Tigers have picked up two in the eighth, one more in the ninth to flip this finale against Atlanta and try to get back to 500 before heading home to take on the Rangers and the Red Sox. Matt Vierling with his best day at the plate this year. He's got 3 hits in his last 3 at-bats. He's an important piece out there in center field with the injuries to Meadows and Baez. And that is just big news today.
Uh-oh. Look what we got here.
Well, hello.
Oh, boy, I just found it. We got a good video to play, guys. 2 hours. Oh, my God. I might have to be overtime tonight, you guys. Look, I did my power nap. I got my power nap in. Anybody on? Testing 1, 2, 3. 5 by 5. Chico.
Investments update April 30th, 2020.
Huh. Okay, I think I got two showing. Hey, and you're the first one up today.
Cannot continue to go after, we're going to go after pedophiles at the lowest. Well, maybe he got tossed out of heaven because he was too cool. And there was so much of this.
Oh, jeez. Definitely going to be overtime tonight, you guys. I just found 3 good videos. Did you listen to the first show, Ann?
For a quick reaction.
Oh, okay, I understand. Carol. That's nice, Carol. We're going to have a big, lucky we did that first show, Carol. You're not going to believe what I just found. We got Captain Kyle roundtable with decoys from last night, and then his 25-minute by himself. And then I just found another one with General Flynn. So those are 3 big videos right there. I got my power nap in. I had lunch, so I'm good. So must be a late start because I said a 3 o'clock show, so hopefully we'll get. Robert or Boz. I don't know if you heard me or not, but I just found 3 big videos. Captain Kyle and his roundtable with Decoy, and then 25 with himself. So it's going to be overtime tonight. I gotta arrange all my videos here. Okay, I got those 2 set for first. Well, I guess I'm going ahead and get started because I want to get a lot out. I'm going to save all the good ones until we get everybody in here. So I'm going to do the short clips. The short clips here. All right, I didn't play this yesterday, or it must have happened today. A few minutes. I got 2 clips.
Leave it open. You can take it any way you want. Either way, whichever way you feel best. Morning. Great king.
What would you rate the visit?
The greatest king. Look at so.
Your Majesty, what do you think of the Trump Renaissance here in D.C., all the improvements? What was your favorite part of your visit?
We'll talk later. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, now the second clip I'll play. Lucy. Hi, Mom. Are you home yet? Oh, you're working late tonight, aren't you? Out. They're walking up to the wreath here.
Present! Ha!
I'll play the lady we got. I got one out for you. Okay, that was when they're dropping the wreath off. I got one clip, 4 minutes with the one lady.
I do nothing but bring doom and gloom, but I've got something today that you may not have heard about the Islamic religion. And I think it's very important that you know why what's happening is happening and why Iran was trying so desperately to get a nuclear weapon. I'm going to read something to you, and you can look this up yourself. And any of your little friends who are crying over what's happened to the Islamic regime, maybe you could send this to them. And I know I've got glasses on, these glasses, but I like the way it makes my hair look. So hang on. Yes, it is a widely held belief in Islamic eschatology, both Shia and Sunni, that the Imam Mahdi, the guided one, will only appear during a period of extreme, unprecedented global chaos, injustice, and tribulation. The Mahdi is considered the first of the major signs of the end times, emerging just as a world reaches a breaking point. So, what they've been saying this morning is they want to get a nuclear bomb, and they want to bomb the United States because they feel that it would escalate their Mahdi coming back when they see the destruction of values, which is a time described where men shall resemble women and women shall resemble men, lies that are considered truth, widespread chaos. Some traditions refer to a specific dark and blind time that grows in waves right up to the time before he comes back. Universal oppression. The Mahdi will appear when the world is filled with tyranny, injustice, and corruption, and when Islamic teachings are being ignored. The traditions indicate that Mahdi appears during a period of excessive killing, earthquakes, and social unrest. So they were talking about on Newsmax this morning that the reason that they were trying to get this nuclear weapon going is because they are ready for this. That is their Jesus, and they are ready for him to come back. So for all of you that are still feeling sad, don't forget the over 45,000 people now that have been unalived by this Islamic regime, mostly very young people. They're hanging them left and right. They do not care about these people. They only care about the ideology. They only care about that. They will not go down. They just put another thing out on their little social media thing, calling us the great Satan. They're not going to stop. They're not. So please share this if you would. Thanks.
Okay, another important one from her. You guys hear about Maxine Waters?
It's on redistricting. He's calling the Supreme Court ruling Jim Crow.
They throw race at everything. So, I mean, it's not surprising, but I'm very excited about the Supreme Court ruling. What they did was absolutely unjustified. They want to do it in Colorado as well. We have 4 Republican seats, 4 Democrat seats, and, this Coloradans for a level playing field, same group, just throw Colorado on it. They want to redistrict us and have 7 Democrat seats and 7 Democrat seats and 1 Republican seat. So mine would be the only red seat left. And then they just dump $20-30 million and buy it. So yeah, they want to do that. I haven't seen their ballots actually start to take signatures, but we'll see.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Schumer throws race at everything, including the Save America Act. Where do we stand on that currently? Is there any progress?
I'm more frustrated with Republicans on the Save America Act in the Senate, and not all of them, but Leader Thune needs to bring it up and kill the filibuster. The Democrats, if they get power again, they are going to do that right away with no hesitation, no warning. They're not ashamed of it. They will get rid of the filibuster, and they will absolutely federalize our election. They will pack the Supreme Courts. They will make DC a state. Their entire radical agenda that we have been able to successfully block for the most part will be enacted. And so we've got to get this done. Save America is our number one issue right now. And it's really shameful that Leader Thune has not brought it up in a significant way that it can pass and go to President Trump's desk.
Yeah, I think most Americans would agree with you on that. And Anna Paulina Luna recently stated that Thune is now saying it's just a no-go, that it's just dead. I mean, how do we revive this? And is there a realistic possibility of removing Thune as leader at this point?
Well, that's not my vote to take, to remove him as leader. I'm in the House, and so I don't have that vote to do that. But I think people need to continue putting pressure on the Senate to pass the Save America Act, to ensure that it's passed and get a vote, and again, in a significant way without the filibuster, because this isn't working. We have got to secure our elections before the midterms. We know the Democrats cheat. We know that our election system is flawed, and we're seeing it with the gerrymandering that is going on as well. Like they will try anything to regain power and authority and their majorities.
For a quick reaction to Senator Schumer's comments.
Okay, that was that with Colorado Senator. I got a 5 minute or 5 or 8 with Trisha.
And Georgia Maloney. Because there's some new stuff coming out about her right now that just isn't sitting well. For starters, the lady who was all about, oh yeah, we have to pay our fair share. Yeah, NATO has to step up to the plate. Now she doesn't want to give her 5% of GDP. She says she can't. You know, the economy's not doing so well, so she's not going to be able to contribute this year. You understand? It's the free rider concept, right? They're all a bunch of free riders over there in Europe, and they want somebody else to do it. And the US of A has been doing it forever. And now we're like, no, sorry, enough, especially when you won't even let us use our darn bases like the one in Sigonella we've talked about. I mean, come on. And then especially when you're out there doing what? Oh, you're bringing more and more migrants in. I mean, who are you, lady? Don't you remember Georgia Maloney was campaigning on Italy needs to be Italy? It finally was like, you know, she was like their salvation. She seemed like she cared a lot about Italy and she had a good relationship with Trump. And now this, what's happened? They got to her. I really think so. I think they got to her because now she's talking about bringing 500,000. Well, she isn't just talking about it. Forgive me. Let me get back on camera here. She's not just talking about it. She's actually, in fact, oh, look, I said they got to her. There she is with Macron. Too many kisses from Macron. And what do you know? You turn into a frog. I mean, I don't know who she is. I really don't know who she is because she was like, okay, I don't want any more migrants coming into Italy. And now she just signed a 500,000, come one, come all. And you're going to get benefits too. I mean, and what we're going to pay? We're going to continue paying for all these bases and giving them all this money? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Does it make any sense to you? Probably not. I mean, this is enough is enough. Yeah, I think Macron got to her somehow, some way. And so she went from being this total, like, female version of Trump, right, in Italy, which was amazing. And she had so much support. I was there last summer and I was so impressed. People love her, like just love her. And they're like, finally, somebody's sticking up for our country. And by the way, they love Trump too. And now what's happened? She's folded. She's bringing in 500,000 migrants and she's saying it's absolutely positively necessary. Yeah, her words. She said Europe needs these migrants. And Italy needs these migrants. Here's the soundbite.
L'Italia e l'Europa hanno bisogno di immigrazione. Per questo noi non possiamo continuare a dare il segnale che verrà premiato chi entra illegalmente a discapito di chi vorrebbe farlo.
Okay, so basically she's saying, look, Italy and Europe, we need immigrants. And we cannot continue on. We're not going to survive and succeed without immigrants. And so her whole thing has gone from being anti-migrant to now pro-migrant. And I'm like, you're getting whiplash with Georgia Maloney because 500,000 is a lot of people. You know, that's about 1% of the population. But apparently she's still not doing enough because Germany's like, we got 20%. We got 20% migrants in our population right now. The city of Brussels is like, hey, we got 70%. Italy, what are you doing? You only got 11. Now you're going to up it to 12 because you'll have 12% migrant. It's still apparently not enough for Italy. But Donald Trump's looking at her going, lady, who are you? Who are you? Why are you doing this? How are you doing this? Here it is by the numbers. 164,850 migrants are coming in this year. This year. I showed you the video the other day. The guy in Rome, he's like, this doesn't look like a Roma anymore. It's not Rome. Like, it feels like the Middle East. This is not working out so well for Europe. It's really not. The reasoning is because she said they need workers for the Italian economy. So the Italians are like, well, wait a second. We got 6% unemployment. Like, we have a lot of unemployed Italians. Why are we bringing in more people? Oh, I don't get it. Not to mention, you're bringing in all those people, and guess what they get? Ka-ching! Benefits. Benefits, benefits, and more benefits. They get health care. They get unemployment benefits. They get family allowances for their kids. They get pension contributions. I mean, woo! How does this make sense? I mean, did they really get to her? What was the deal? What was the backroom deal with Macron where they wound up deciding on this? I mean, he said, I'm shocked at her. I'm shocked at her. And he just let it all loose in this Corriere della Sera, which is their main newspaper. He let it loose. He said,
losing your hair? Tired of hiding and looking older than you really are? With Bosley, you can get your real hair back permanently.
basically, she's a coward. He's shocked by her. He also told Maria Bartiromo last weekend, you know what, the weekend before, we're done with Italy. And then he put this little number out on True Social. Italy wasn't there for us. We won't be there for them. And there was no thank you. It was just President Donald J. Trump. So I'm like, how can they afford this? Like, what is she doing? What happened? In all seriousness, anybody know what happened to the real Georgia Maloney? Like, they got something on her? I don't know. Maybe it's this. So she's been failing in some votes that have happened along the way. 54% voted against Georgia Maloney in her effort to have more control over how the jurists are supervised there. So that was a big deal in Italy. And more than half of the country voted against her in that referendum. And so the thinking might be that she's worried she's losing clout. But like, I got to ask you, how is that helpful to you? All right, so you're losing, suppose you're Trump and you're like, okay, I'm losing the super left. The Rachel Maddow's viewers don't like me anymore. Well, Rachel Maddow's viewers never were going to like you, so I don't know why you're trying to cozy up to them. So I'm using Rachel Maddow as an example. I mean, they have some uber lefties there in Italy, and if she's feeling threatened by them, how is the answer to just go more left and give them exactly what they want? Because where's your base going to be? Your base is going to be like, well, why am I showing up for this lady? She's obviously not showing up for us. She's doing the exact opposite of everything that she told us she was going to do. On top of which, instead of, having a good relationship with Trump, which Italy was super excited about. Again, all my sources over there told me over and over again how they saw this as a new chapter in Italian history, that they were going to actually have a good relationship with the US of A. And it was all thanks to one Georgia Maloney. And now that just went poof up in smoke, because apparently she prefers to have a good relationship with Emmanuel Macron. Why? Why? I ask you. I mean, if you were smart, Georgia, you would recognize you guys get a lot of liquefied natural gas right out of the Persian Gulf area. You need this as much as we need this. You should want to be friends with us. I mean, hey, the UAE wants to be friends with us. All the Persian Gulf places other than Iran want to be friends with us. OPEC's breaking up because of it, because, they all want to be friends with us. And by the way, we produce more oil. Hey, quick reminder, go check out my website, 76 Research. Take a look at those portfolios. I love them. We actually did a lot on Georgia Maloney recently.
Okay, that's all. That was the end of the video almost. I got the two older ladies that has their channel. And one lady has two. Then the other one is a three-parter with one of the guys on YouTube. We do got a short Billy Bean out.
Natural gas, the record inflation, the loss of energy independence. All of it flowed from that Great Reset blueprint. Trump's energy reset is a mirror image. Drill, build, export. Let American energy flood the world market, drive down prices, and make every nation that wants cheap power an American partner rather than a hostage of the global establishment. But that means free and open use of places like the Strait of Hormuz without constant threats of terrorist disruption and the resulting artificial price hikes from London's commodities markets. Which brings us to today. Were Venezuela and now Iran only about corrupt terrorist regimes, or is something much more fundamental going on, like rewiring the entire global financial system to accommodate Trump's American economic renaissance? Is that what Trump is talking about when he writes world's most powerful reset? I'm about to tell you about that. But if you're beginning to suspect Trump is up to something nobody else is talking about, that's exactly why Promethean Action exists. I've been watching the fight between empire and sovereign nation states since the 1970s, which is the real battlefield we're now on. If you want to find out more, take a minute and subscribe to our free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com. Now, James Thorne is the chief market strategist at Wellington Altus, one of Canada's largest private wealth firms. In his April briefing, he said that Trump's moves in Venezuela and Iran have a motive nobody is talking about: re-anchoring global energy and money in the dollar system for the next 50 years. He calls it Bretton Woods 2.0. He's right about Trump's motives, but he's wrong when he says Trump's model is the petrodollar looting system created by Wall Street and the City of London in 1971. And he's wrong when he says Trump is playing a new great game: the operating system, the pipeline shutdowns, the drilling restrictions, the war on American natural gas, the record inflation, the loss of energy independence. All of it flowed from that Great Reset blueprint. Trump's energy reset is a mirror image.
Went past a little bit. So it'll be which one? I had that somewhere. Hang on a minute.
Talks with Iran, Donald Trump posted 4 words on Truth Social: world's most powerful reset. The media ignored it. They had no idea what he meant. Was he talking about Iran? Was it some coded threat? I know what it meant, and by the end of this video, you will too. We've all been flooded with propaganda by Trump's enemies, domestic and foreign. Most people think he's just throwing grenades, tariffs, trade wars, threats of military force with no plan behind any of it. I'm telling you, they're dead wrong. What you're watching is a deliberate strategic reset of the entire world order. Not the great reset that King Charles, Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, and Joe Biden announced during COVID. They told you energy had to be rationed and world government imposed, or we would all die from the climate apocalypse or the next pandemic. Trump's reset goes entirely in the opposite direction. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I've tracked the imperial great game for decades. I've lived through managed decline. I've studied the American system of economics, which Trump has resurrected. And I know it will produce a new and completely different world. Here's what I'm covering today. First, what was the Great Reset before Trump? Next, what is the world's most powerful reset? Friday, as J.D. Vance boarded a plane to
Okay, got her done. Now the other lady.
At Promethean Action to help me better understand what's going on with Iran, President Trump breaking the grip of the British Empire, King Charles showing up and basically groveling at the feet of the United States. Susan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So lots going on since you and I did an interview together. We've got this Iran situation that seems to be wrapping up. President Trump is really turning the Middle East away from China and Iran back towards the United States. He's been extremely disruptive on London, the banks of London, the insurance companies of London. So let me jump into this. You and your team see a lot of President Trump's actions through this lens of breaking the hold of the British Empire over the United States and over other parts of the world. How, in your estimation, is this war with Iran hurting London, the banks of London, the insurance companies, and setting the world and the United States on a more free path away from the British Empire?
Well, look, the entire post-war period has been one where essentially we've been the brawn to the alleged brains of the British Empire, or what many people today more commonly see as the globalists. And the Middle East has been a critical choke point. Obviously, the British figured this out, at the beginning of the 20th century when oil became an important commodity. And you can see the entire British establishment pivoting to how are we going to control this vital region. And, there's a huge, long history to that, which most people may know some headlines. They know the Sykes-Picot Treaty is what divided up the area after World War I, after the breakup of the Ottoman Empire. And if you look at the way it was broken up, consciously to keep the entire region in conflict, so that you could never have what the British imperial system and the globalists fear the most: stable, sovereign nations. If you want to get your metric in the world straight right off the bat, it's an imperial globalist supranational operation versus sovereign, stable, economically prospering nations. And the way the empire has always operated, they call it the Great Game, or it's called geopolitics, is just make sure you don't have those strong, stable, peaceful, economically developing nations, or for that matter, nations based on nationalism. And if you look at the history of the Mideast, from really going back over 100 years, you'll find.
Today, I am joined by Susan Kokinda.
Hey, part 2. KK! Got a surprise video for you. Before I was coming on, you won't believe what I found. Captain Kyle roundtable 2 hours, and then Captain Kyle himself for 25 minutes. And then I got a 16-minute General Flynn video. I got my power nap in, so this is a 3-parter here.
Functioning, not as an Islamic caliphate.
Religion
may be Islam,
on the first one,
but it's a nationalist government like Nasser back in Egypt, or Mossadegh in Iran, where you have a government which says, hey, we're going to develop our nation, our resources for the benefit of our people. And from the standpoint of the empire, that's a no-no. So, I probably couldn't, but some of my colleagues could give a 3-hour lecture, on exactly how the British have orchestrated this throughout the 20th century into this century. And what President Trump has done, starting with his first administration with the Abraham Accords, is basically say, I'm not going to play that game any longer. I want to work with these nations as nations, not as chess pieces on a chessboard. And I remind people, one of the first places the president went was Saudi Arabia. It was the first foreign visit he took in his first administration, to say to the Saudis, no, you're no longer playing the British game. You are no longer going to sponsor Islamic fundamentalism, which they were certainly doing in cohort with then Prince Charles, I would suggest. But instead, we're going to work with you as a sovereign nation. So, and he's been developing that framework throughout his first administration with the Abraham Accords, picked it up again. The second administration, it was fairly well recognized that Saudi Arabia was right on the verge of signing the Abraham Accords right before October 7th, blew up, and that ended that for that period of time. But what the president has done is pulled a whole lot of countries off of this chessboard where they're acting in their own interests, and those interests generally coincide with ours as a sovereign nation. So the last piece on the chessboard was Iran, where you have this theocratic regime, which you could always count on to keep the region destabilized. And obviously that's where the support for Hamas and Hezbollah came from, supported other groupings and regimes, but pretty much it had been reduced to just Iran. And, the president's actions have basically said, no, we're going to take Iran off the chessboard, which means we're going to have to deal with the IRGC, with the mullahs and so on. But as he said, as Vice President Vance has said, we want Iran to be a normal nation. It's a nation with a beautiful, rich culture. We want them to essentially rejoin the community of nations. So obviously the trigger was nuclear weapons. And, this administration is clear. You're not going to let crazy people like this, who scream death to America, have nuclear weapons, bottom line. But it also has disrupted this strategic, every time you have a nationalist government.
Okay, final part. I'm going to do the short Billy video, and then the first 25 minutes of the single with Captain Kyle. I'll get the rest of the stuff later.
Strait of Hormuz. Again, this is one of these points of control, one of these sort of hidden hands. Peter Navarro had a good term for this. He called it the terror premium. That part of the cost of oil and gas is this constant instability in that region. Now, who benefits by the terror premium? Oh, how about Lloyd's of London, which was the major conglomerate for shipping insurance in that region. So, of course, what's one of the first things that happens in this conflict? Lloyd's, for the first time in one of these conflicts, because this is not a war that the British liked, Lloyd said, oh, no, we're not just going to raise premiums, which is what they've always done. We're going to cancel, and just shut this thing down. It's sort of like, if we can't have it, nobody can have it. And Donald Trump said, okay, go ahead, make my day. And we said that, number one, we would insure ships that are traveling through the strait. So there's now a parallel mechanism. We just broke the Lloyd's of London monopoly on this. And what you're seeing in terms of the blockade of the Iran is they're just up against the wall. They're running out of storage facility for oil. And, if they have to stop pumping, they lose those wells. So the president has backed them into a corner. And it's clear that what he's trying to do, he doesn't want to destroy the nation. I mean, he threatened, as he had to, dealing with IRGC, I'll send you back to the Stone Age. But he doesn't want to. He wants to find some forces within Iran which can emerge and negotiate on behalf of the people of that country, not on behalf of the radical faction. And, I think the next couple of days are going to tell whether or not that's happening. But, in short, this has been one of the major chessboards for the imperial system for over 100 years. Iran is pretty much the last piece on that chessboard. And the president is in the process of taking it off. and creating a completely different structure for that region where we can finally solve the problems.
Okay. Why all of that makes sense to me, because I know England has had a massive thumb on the scale of the Middle East, trying to control oil and all of that. They've had this financial choke point in addition to a physical choke point. But why then didn't the United Kingdom show up to help the United States? And why now, as like a last ditch effort, are they sending in the king? Right? Like they're not even sending their envoys. They're not sending someone other than Starmer. Like
choke point that the British.
Okay, we got our two older ladies in today. Short Billy and then Captain Ron's first big video. Yeah, she came on earlier. Okay, this is their short one.
One Cinch Home Services warranty covers everything with an industry leading.
Welcome to Truth.
Wrong one. Darn it. Hold on. This one's 5 minutes.
April 3rd, 2026, time in Texas about noon. A flash update. And thanks for like, subscribe, and share. So I reported in my last video about a 4.4 earthquake north of Las Vegas. Now it turns out this was near Area 51. And the 4.4 was very shallow, about 2.5 miles. And it's been followed by a swarm of 17 aftershocks. So that's going on near Area 51. And we have this from New York Prepper today. We have an over-the-horizon radar on, and we have the U.S. military sending out target codes over the high-frequency nuclear code radio system. So we see that's going on. And we have this from U.S. Intel. President Trump has determined the IRGC is in charge and that the IRGC will never negotiate in good faith, especially regarding the nuclear material in Iran. Therefore, President Trump, according to trusted White House sources, has given the order to the U.S. military this morning to hit Iran again, either tonight or possibly tomorrow night after the stock market closes. But I'm more likely inclined to believe he will do it tonight because he included the information in the strike order to wait for King Charles and his team to leave the U.S. They will leave this afternoon from Andrews Air Force Base. So I'm speculating the U.S. military could begin their next wave of hits on Iran as early as tonight. So that's going on. We have this also from U.S. Intel today. China has passed regulations empowering the Chinese government to seize the assets of nations and also companies operating inside China who are associated with any government that's interfering with China's trade. And that would certainly earmark the U.S. and their blockade, blocking China from getting oil from Iran. It's believed that China then could proceed to seize the assets of U.S. companies operating inside China. And we understand there are thousands, including Microsoft, Boeing, Intel, KFC, Starbucks, Apple, Walmart, Tesla, and Coca-Cola. So we see both sides positioning for that death step that could come May 14 to 15 when allegedly President Trump is to go to China. Like I said, I'm taking a wait and see whether he actually will go to China. But China today has passed those regulations, and we know Chinese economy has taken a dramatic downfall because it's not getting oil. So very likely China could then begin to freeze or seize assets of these major U.S. companies inside China. So that's going on. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
The most affordable Flash. Okay, Terry made it just in time. I just found 2 big videos before I came on. Captain Kyle will do first on 25, and he has the round table 2 hours. So we are going to have overtime tonight.
Time to be alive. I know it's challenging, and I know that there is much difficulties in everything that's going on.
That's the loudest I can get it.
But you got this. You really do have this. And I want to encourage you guys that everything that's happening is the new energy that's coming in that this planet has never experienced ever. And you are so part of it. There's so much disinformation that's going on out there in the world that we have to do just as Christ said. Don't look left, don't look right, don't look to the temple, don't look to the priest, pastor. Look inside, because that's where every answer is. It's inside. And we have to unplug ourselves from the chaos that is going on around us, because that new energy, which is bringing all of the new in, appears as chaos, because the old has to be torn down so it can be rebuilt into the new energy that is just completely flooding everything. And we have to spend the time separated from all of those noises that are a part of the world, whether it's your husband or your wife or your kids or your job or the internet or all of these distractions that are bombarding your fields. You have to find that inner peace. And in doing so, that calm allows you to be able to sit in the presence of truth and ask for truth, and not to be focused on this or that, because most of the time it is look over here so you don't see over here the things that are going on, because so much is happening right now that is for that very purpose, because the stage is being set for arrests, for justice, for the restructuring of the power dynamics that have controlled you and I our entire lives. every part of that system is being exposed and dismantled right before your eyes. And it's like, if you've ever gone through a rebuild or a remodel, there is a lot of destruction that happens to bring forth the new. You have to get rid of all the old, clean it all out. And then, and only then, do we start the rebuild. And we are in that process right now. The storm is in full effect and only growing by the day. So if you think of a hurricane, the closer you get to the eye of that storm, the stronger and the more violent that storm becomes. That is what we're doing. We are entering in deeper and deeper into the storm that is actually happening right now. And as we get closer, it's going to accelerate more and more. So in that, things, you have to be able to disconnect your ego from the things in which you think you know to be true and allow that to come as truth and not with a preset of ideologies or ideas or thoughts to influence it. So I want to tell you, like, this last deal with the President Trump and this so-called killer. Well, that was in an event that I watched live, and under that live circumstance was going through processing the event which had happened, which appeared, things look as if that's what happened. But in time, things start to unwind, unravel, don't make sense. And when that happens, you have to be open to seeing what those realities are. And in doing so, I allowed the Spirit to show me what I needed to know after the fact. And the White Hats co-opted that plan. They co-opted it. It was an intentional plan that was going to go through, but they took it over, replanned, and then guided it to where no one was killed and neither was he. The very best circumstances for that actual event that was going to happen, that the deep state intentionally was pushing, not in a mass situation, because if they would have actually been behind it 100%, they would have been able to actually make that work. But also the technology that we have, and I talk about it, Gene and I talk about this technology, they have the ability to 3D every single part of that building, everything that's in it, everything that's in your pockets, everything that's in your person, and know all of it in real time. Nothing for chance whatsoever. So if that was the case, knowing that technology and having all of those high profile individuals that were there bomb the whole place, take the whole thing down, and don't have to worry about getting close, but by trying to take out the entirety of the cabinet, the leaders, the president, the vice president, and so on and so forth. That ain't what happened, because they're not in control anymore. But events still must go off, but they're being guided for the best overall outcome, period. So when we say we're in control, we are in control in that aspect. The timeline and time events take place, but you control the outcomes of how they're going to manifest. How many people die? What is the circumstances? But we are at war and people are going to die. And so if we get it wrong at first, that's okay, because everything is always a fluid environment that things change. And when they change, the first thing you need to know is that, oh, my bad. That's not what happened. This is more information. I should have waited a little longer. And those things need to be discussed privately in the processing, but not out into the public space. And that's okay. But reserve the right to talk about things, because many, many times the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing on purpose so that you don't see it. The illusion. But if you go inside, you sit in the peace, go into the spirit.
16 minutes left.
You can get those answers. It may take you a little time, but don't be in a rush. No reason to be in a rush. Truth is more important than being first on the list. Who cares about first? Who cares about any of that stuff? Only if you're looking for clicks. I don't care if clicks. I don't use this for money. I don't use this platform to make money. I have my own career and I fund the bill for all of it. I don't care about the money because I have been approached. So when I know these other influencers are being paid, when they all of a sudden start flip-flopping around and changing their whole mindset, because anybody that's been in this game long enough that has a large overall platform has been approached. We've all been approached. Those that change, well, they took what was offered. Those that don't, didn't. Always remember that they keep you in a state of following them and giving you truth until it's time to change the narrative and lead you in a different path. Tucker, Candace, all of these individuals. Look at Megyn Kelly. She's now flip-flop back the other way again. It's all about what ratings, where the influence goes. Was this the right path? Oh, I need to maybe rethink this. Get back on the Trump train.
We're about halfway.
You guys are smart enough to know it. Don't fall for this crap by these individuals. But it is all necessary that they do what they do for that exposure. All of this is a litmus test of our development and our awareness. It's all being monitored 24/7, 365 in real time, everything. Stay grounded in your truth, not mine, not Kelly's, not anybody that's on this channel or anybody that I have to do with. Don't get in their truth, get in your own truth and stand in it. And if something challenges that truth, see it through, because that may add to your truth, may divert your truth into a higher truth. Don't close off potential data points, because that's what things are, data points. And you accumulate those data points over time to influence you and your perception of those truths.
Captain
Just like I told you a long time ago when I had my dark night of the soul and the Lord took me into 5D, took me into the throne room and all those things. And it was incredible. That was really my first experience into 5D. And I asked specifically, how are we going to get here and when? And that was not for me to know. he told me specifically, that's my relationship, yours is yours, is that this is my journey, this is my experience for my soul to bring us to this place. And because of that, that door opened and it has never closed. And it's made it easier to process these events and seeing things that I didn't see before in how the universal law works, because everything has its order, because God is a God of order. And we are going through that process right now. And there is nothing going to stop what is coming. And you can be grateful and joyful in the difficulties, knowing that that truth will not be changed and you will experience it in its fullness. You will get across the finish line. May not look like what you were hoping it looked like to begin with. I'm talking about getting to that finish line. But you can listen to any marathoner when they've ran those last 4 or 5 miles of that 26-mile run. It's grueling until they cross that finish line. And then euphoria. A lot of it's called runner's high. I've experienced it not through that, doing a marathon, no, but in other things. It's euphoric. I just want to encourage you, stay faithful to yourself. Find yourself, find who you really are, and begin to remember who you really are. That's what this is about, remembering who you are. You are a son and daughter of the creator of all of this. Your inheritance is everything if you tap back into it. Everything this world has, ever since you was a little baby, has been teaching you how to stay plugged into their matrix and to keep you from remembering who you really are. God loves you, and there is no separation from that, period. Nothing exists, good, bad, or indifferent, outside of God, period. The creator, the big G, not all these little G's, because there is a lot of those little G's. And people get confused by the little G's that are a part of our history and them being gods. Are they the God? They've never tapped into the higher God that created creation. That's who you are, a daughter of, a son of. You're special. Figure out who you are and remember it. But all this stuff that's going on, don't stay in your box. Don't allow fear to creep in. Because there is nothing to fear. You're eternal. This meat suit, no, not so much. But the rest of you, eternal. And everything you know, people, all those things, they're all eternal, forever. On the other side, you don't forget. You know it all. They know it all. And you understand how it all comes together. People that have crossed over into that reality are changed forever because of the incredibleness and the remembrance of how everything is connected. Everything is connected. Let these things play out and know that no matter what happens, God's in control. Even if you don't understand it, it's okay. We're not meant to understand it all because our minds are so limited in that kind of capacity. But as we go higher, as our bodies restructure its DNA, because that is what's happening, that knowledge, that understanding begins to come forth. Those abilities begin to come forth. Don't let anybody steal that from you. Run with it. Christ told us, these things in which I do, you will do greater works. Because he knew who you were. He knew who he was. But he also knows where we're going.
Hey, we got about 6 minutes.
Yes, you're going. So don't get caught up in this. There is a plan. It is being orchestrated, and it's accelerating exponentially. And, you know, there's so much that we have been lied to about, but just remember, two things can be correct at the same time. Two things can be correct at the same time. We could be presented one thing that was not original, but at the same time, the original actually happened. We just didn't see the original. We got to see the manufactured, but they both happened at the same time. They were both real. One was orchestrated,
just about
the other organic, but they both happened. And it's real easy because of that to see the one that was orchestrated and believe it was all a lie. Nope. The reason it was orchestrated is because what was seen or experienced,
okay, bud,
they didn't want that cat out of the bag. Because once that cat comes out of the bag, you can't put that cat back in the bag. Nope. And this has been the number one priority on keeping that cat in the bag. Well, that bag is coming apart. And it's coming to where our experience with UFOs, UAPs, interdimensional beings, that's coming this year from the government, not from people, from the government. They're already starting to set it up with talking about the hybrid baby factory, so to speak, and the bases that are under the water, vehicles that are massive in size, and that is nothing that you can understand on how technology operates. All of these things are being exposed right now. In that video that I show with Gene and myself, we talk about those things. And there's so much that's coming from government people right now. But I believe that within the next month or two, probably June, I believe before we get to July 4th, that is going to be announced. And President Trump actually is going to be the president that is the one that brings disclosure. He's going to be the disclosure president in that aspect. It's going to be limited, but it's going to be non-deniable at that point, which is going to open the door for the hybrid people that are here, alien people that are here, to begin to come forth out into the public space, speak about that later on in this year, and open the door for us into the galactic community that we have been kind of kicked out of because of the controllers that were here, and then shielded off from the frequency net to keep us in a very low vibrational field, to take our abilities away from us and keep us in the dark. And so this is important, very important, because as we get into next year, complete open contact that's going to change the reality of every single person on this planet. It's coming. It's either the end of this year, first part of next year, that open, complete, taking the training wheels off kind of contact. End of this year, first part of next year, it's here. It's been kind of slowed down just a little bit. It was really supposed to happen this year, but it's been slowed down just a little bit. But the disclosure's coming, and the human hybrid people that have been living amongst us for a long time, are going to start coming out speaking about it. And because they look so much like you and I, and that there's no way for you to tell the difference, it will be able to associate that visual connection before we start having beings that could really freak people out in what their appearance is and what they actually look like. The door is open. We're about to go through it. And this is the greatest time to ever be alive and be grateful that you are participating in it. And when your mindset changes with a truly grateful heart, your reality must start to align with that. Not with what you see, what you feel. That's what brings it into reality. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Come call out.
Okay. I wasn't expecting to share him tonight when we got the G-code guy. So we're going to do a lot of short clips for a bit. See how many I can get in 15 minutes here. Then we'll get to the big video.
Tired of watching parents be ignored while political decisions are made about our children's education without our say? The agreement between CPS and CTU about May 1st was created without parent input, without transparency, and with commitments that we believe violate public school policy by funneling school resources for political events. There is a difference between teaching civics versus advancing political agendas. You heard it today from the CTU secretary. They want no oversight. They want no approval needed for supplemental educational material. They want the freedom to politically indoctrinate our children without accountability. And in your haste to satisfy outside interests like the CTU, you are putting our students in a high-risk situation. Heaven forbid one child gets hurt at a protest that you have sanctioned. Who will be held liable? CTU, CPS, this body? We have taken a decision to inquire legal counsel. Today, we are demanding 3 things: an immediate pause to this flawed May 1st agreement. Second, that this board hold a full public vote with public discussion. Third, focus on what matters most, educating our children, not politics. CPS parent.
Very important one there. I got 3 of the other lawyer lady.
I just got it, so I wanted to hop on right now. Sorry for the sweatshirt. This is for immediate release. Camp Mystic today informed the Texas Department of State Health Services, DSHS, that is withdrawing its application for a summer 2026 camp license. No administrative process or summer season should move forward while families continue to grieve. While investigations continue and while so many Texans still carry the pain of last July's tragedy, we commend DSHS for the testimony this week that recognized their legal obligations. But rather than risk defending our rights under Texas law in a manner that may unintentionally affect further harm, we choose rather to withdraw our application for the 2026 camp season. 28 precious lives were lost. We recognize that no statement, no decision can undo that loss or ease the burden carried each day by parents, siblings, loved ones, survivors, first responders, and our beautiful Kerr County community. We also recognize that over 800 girls want to return to Camp Mystic Cypress Lake this summer. Our special bond with our Camp Mystic families does not change or end with the announcement. We love each of you. The decision is intended to remove any doubt that Camp Mystic has heard the concerns expressed by grieving families, members of the Texas House and Senate investigating committees, and citizens across our state. Respect for those voices requires that we step back now. Camp Mystic will continue to fully cooperate with all ongoing investigations, comply with every lawful requirement, and continue supporting and healing efforts. Today is not about camp operations. It's about respect for the families, accountability to the public, and reverence for the memories of the lives lost.
Messenger. So I can't
This is what should have
sorry.
always been done. And I think what's gross is, I'm not going to commend them at all for doing this now. They should have never, ever put the families through any of this to reopen their camp. That was incredibly selfish. So for those of you that want me to say good job, Camp Mystic, that's not going to happen, because what they've put these families through is unconscionable. However, I am so glad that it will not be opening. So glad. So this is good news, and I will post this to my stories when I can.
I got 2 more.
Department's ruling to bring back different methods of execution. I think there's some misunderstanding around this because the media is just saying firing squad, firing squad, firing squad. So I wanted to bring some information to you so you have it. You can be for it, against it, doesn't matter to me. So the federal government after 1976 has always had the death penalty, but obviously death penalty differs state to state. So I'm not talking about states right now. I'm only talking about the federal government. And so one of the things that they're wanting to do is expedite the time of which people are convicted to when they are ultimately executed. Just for your information, right now the wait time is 19 to 22 years because of the appeals process. Back in, say, 1990, it was just under 8 years. So obviously that is an increase. And so one of the ways that they're wanting to move this faster is by expanding the manner upon which people can be executed. And so they are adding the firing squad, the gas chamber, and the electric chair back. Now, 5 states do have the firing squad as a manner of death. States can choose to have it and then choose what the manners are, just so everyone knows. Just some history. The last person executed by lethal injection on the federal level was an individual named Dustin Higgs. In 2021, he murdered 3 women. So that was the last person executed by lethal injection. There was essentially a 20-year hiatus. Even though the death penalty was brought back in 1976, only 16 people have been executed at the federal conviction level. 13 of them were between the years of 2020 and 2021. 2021. When President Biden left office, he commuted the sentences of many people on federal death row to life in prison rather than execution. Right now, it's interesting because I think this opening this up to multiple ways or manners of executions makes it seem like our federal executions just teeming over. There's just too many people that are awaiting this. I want to tell you that there are three. There are currently three that are sitting on federal death row. I'll tell you who they are. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, he is one of the individuals responsible for the Boston Marathon bombing. Robert Bowers, who did the Tree of Life synagogue shooting back in, I think it was 2018. And then Dylan Roof, who unfortunately went to the historically Black church and opened fire there. Those are the three that were not pardoned by Biden that do remain on federal death row. So I think it's just important to have all of that information just because I'm seeing a lot of bias in how it's being presented. And
okay, one more with her. Get this last one in and then
people. I'm probably going to do both today. So sorry, we'll just have to deal with it. A couple things I wanted to say. First, I think Judge Massengill and Investigator Garnett did a very good job of laying out the facts and putting together what I think is a very clear, concise, and thorough timeline. What I didn't appreciate, especially as a former FBI agent, one of the things I was always told is your feelings absolutely don't matter. Your facts are what lays out a case and gets people ultimately convicted. I didn't appreciate how much Investigator Garnett was talking about how she felt about the Eastland family. It actually doesn't matter, and it's not relevant to any of this. I was sick of hearing some of the senators even too saying how they felt about them. It doesn't matter. I have come to the conclusion now, in my opinion, after listening to all of this, the Eastlands are not good people. They're not. I'm not sure that they ever were. If you want me to be completely honest with you, you all can be as mad at me as you want for that. And I'm going to explain why, because I think it's important to back that up with what I saw. And I wrote a lot of it down, so I'm sorry. The first thing was about Dick Eastland and that he's Mr. Veto. You don't cross him. People are afraid to ask and people are scared. I don't really care. I think that we are putting a lot of this blame on him, and he absolutely deserves it, but he's not here to defend himself, and then it absolves sort of the rest of the family for their decisions they made. There were 45 adults there that night who did not do anything positive to save the lives of children. There were counselors who actually did do a lot of things to save the lives of some of these children. And I appreciated that Carrie Hanna said in her testimony that she doesn't blame these counselors. I don't either. I blame the adults in charge. I understand some of them are 18, that it doesn't count in this situation. And I want to explain why in this testimony, things I heard that really upset me. The first was Brett Eastland. He was kind of being taken to task by Senator Kohlhorst about the 22 insufficiencies. He said, they're just being overly careful. It's fine. I don't know if people caught that, but he basically blew that off. Senator Kohlhorst did say, yes, a lot of camps have insufficiencies. You're the only one that has 22, and the other ones have 1 or 2, and it's about just like not having a landline installed in, the next 2 days. So they're going to have it by camp. And I appreciated her saying that because a lot of the pushback's been, well, every other camp has one. The other thing is she asked Mary Liz Eastland, so you've reported the deaths, right? We learned last week you hadn't. You need to do that. Mary Liz was like, no, we haven't done that yet. I truly think they think that they are above these rules and regulations. Another thing that they said was that Dick always felt too much regulation. No one will do this anymore. If you are an adult, I don't care how fearful you are, you need to stand up when you know that something is wrong. Because if you don't, the reality is children will die and children will suffer. I don't care how socially maligned you might be. I don't care about any of those things. An adult, especially one in the family, needed to stand up and do the right thing. Full stop. I've been maligned by my community for standing up and making school safer. It's okay. I don't care because I know that it's helping children in the long run. One of the things they talked about was that Morgan Myers stated that, got them to basically say they had no evacuation plan because it was sheltering in place. And they fully more further elaborate on that and said, well, it was more just about don't drive, in low-lying water. Well, that's exactly what Dick Eastland did to try to save girls in some of these cabins. He drove his vehicle in low-lying water, and it actually got himself and some other girls killed as a result. So I don't know why you would go back on what it is that you felt was your safety plan at the time. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was Cece Stewart stated in her testimony about, the camper to counselor ratio and how for them it was probably about saving money, $8,000 to not have these counselors in the cabin. And Carrie Hanna really elaborated on that. She had gone through all of the Mystic yearbooks, the ones that she had access to, and took inventory and said between 1994 and 2005, there were 3 counselors in those cabins. Between 2013 and 2024, there were 3 counselors in the cabins, except 2020. Obviously, numbers were probably low at that time and didn't need it. Also, there was always a senior counselor with the younger counselors. Those are those 18-year-olds who this is their freshman year in college, and she doesn't blame the counselors. And that's what I'm saying. All of the adults, all of them, failed these children, every single one. And I think that is disturbing. I was texting with one of my friends last night who's obviously very disturbed by all of this. And I said to her, I think what's hard for people to understand is how that many adults can fail children because we put our trust, right, in people. And maybe it's because of my former careers, but I don't trust anyone. And I have called my daughter's camp. I have asked them about their safety regulations. And I don't think that anyone should not do that, right? Can't.
Okay, those were 3 good ones from the other 3-letter word lady. So what do I got next? Oh, we got 2 more clips here on this.
Weekend.
Defeating our future ringleader could now be facing even more legal trouble.
Amy Bach is accused of leaking documents. With all the very latest on what's going on here. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. Well, Amy Bach's trial lasted a full 6 weeks. In the end, she was convicted of all charges, including wire fraud and bribery. Now, the woman who prosecutors call the mastermind behind this pandemic fraud scheme, she's now accused of trying to minimize her role ahead of next month's sentencing. Federal prosecutors say that Bach has been giving her son leaked documents and materials that are being sent to the media and to lawmakers. Prosecutors say that Bach's actions were part of a public relations campaign in an attempt to shift blame in the hopes of getting a lighter sentence. Now, they argue that her conduct is a, quote, flagrant, knowing and willful violation of court orders that required access to sensitive documents that must be kept confidential. The judge overseeing her case now setting a hearing for this afternoon to discuss these allegations. Prosecutors want her sanctioned, and they want her banned from accessing documents or contacting her son. Now, of the 79 people who were charged in the stealing more than $250 million of COVID relief funds, 65 have either pled guilty or been convicted at trial. In fact, the U.S. Attorney's Office says this is the largest number of convictions in a single fraud investigation in recent memory. Bach is due in court at 1 o'clock this afternoon. The 45-year-old has been held in the Sherburne County Jail. She awaits sentencing, which is scheduled for May 21st. Back to you guys.
All right, Bill Keller with the.
Okay, another trial.
Of leaking documents in. She is due back in court today. Bill Keller live outside the federal courthouse in Minneapolis.
Sorry, well, that was a different one.
across Minneapolis in their investigation into
5 minutes.
alleged widespread fraud across the state. Now, a former Minnesota investigator speaking out about the complexity of these long-standing schemes, alleging officials even attempted to cover them up.
As I look back with the benefit of 2020 hindsight, I realized that what our team saw was the early stages of a somewhat loosely organized criminal enterprise beginning to pillage Minnesota's public benefit system.
NewsNation investigative correspondent Rich McHugh joins us now with the latest. Rich, good afternoon.
Hi, Nick. You know, what's most shocking about this is not Jay Swanson's level of candor or the amount of details and facts that he can talk about. It's the account of how Minnesota officials ultimately silenced him and his team. This is a guy who was a state trooper in Minnesota for decades, and he was the head of this fraud, this agency investigating fraud within the state. Ultimately, he says they shut him down after they came up and revealed what they learned. Take a listen.
One day, we received a call from a CCAP mother who called to complain that her child care center owner had stopped paying her the monthly cash kickback they had agreed upon. Another day, a former co-owner of a center called to say that he had been cheated out of his share of the fraud proceeds. Yet another day, a fire department called asking if a child care center was still operating because there were never any children or staff at the center. I checked and found that in the last 12 months, we had paid the center approximately $1 million and that they were billing for the care of approximately 90 children at a time during 2 shifts from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week.
Swanson says, looking back, his team saw the early stages of loosely organized criminal enterprise starting to pillage Minnesota public benefit system. And it was well-known in the community, but also in Somalia.
More than once, I heard an owner or employee respond when we asked where they first learned about the daycare scam. They would say they had first heard about it while in the refugee camp in Kenya. These individuals told us that they had heard you could run the scam in a number of different states, but it was easiest and you could make the most money doing it in Minnesota.
What's most chilling is that he and his team, which included veteran investigator Scott Stillman, who told us his career was destroyed after speaking up and testifying publicly in 2017, were retaliated against.
I soon had a senior DHS official in my office, angry, red-faced, and almost yelling. The senior DHS official told me to delete a number of paragraphs of the document that I had sent. I then advised this official that I believed what they were telling me to do was illegal. I can't tell you how shocked we were to come to the Department of Human Services and learn after a few years that not only was the theft of untold millions of dollars tolerated, but those who tried to stop it would be subjected to the wrath of high-ranking department officials.
Now, Swanson says their warnings were ignored. Then the department hired a consultant, ultimately to try and discredit their findings, and all of this would be shoved under the carpet. Nick?
Rich, you also interviewed his colleague, Scott Stillman, exclusively last month. Now that both have spoken out with the damning accounts, what does this mean for Minnesota officials?
Well, it establishes kind of a baseline. Here you have two very credible people, Stillman and Swanson, both lifetime investigators. They're saying that this fraud was known in Minnesota as early as 2013, 2014. They were talking about it, retaliated against. And so the implication for officials, Governor Walz, who we've reached out to and has not responded, is it's impossible for them to say they didn't know about this. In fact, when they brought this, Governor Walz's, Department of Human Services ultimately shut down this very team. Nick?
And Rich, that's a pretty big deal. Anytime you're hearing about a scam all the way back in Kenya, before you even get here, that's telling you that the tentacles definitely run deep. Rich McHugh, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download.
So, okay, I got 2 more short clips from Our Lady there on TikTok, 2 minutes and a minute. And then I got a 3-part with Kennedy and DOC or AOC. And then Vinny has a 10-minute one on DOC. And then the last thing we'll do would be the 2-hour big video.
This to all of your Republican conservative friends. President Trump just spoke with a bunch of reporters and said, if we terminate the filibuster, he can just about guarantee that the Republicans will be in charge for at least 50 years.
Wow.
Because we can pass bill
big.
after bill. We can keep all of the craziness from happening. We can shut down the borders. We can stop all of this shit. Everybody on this app that is a conservative, that's a Republican, that's MAGA, that loves their country, you have an obligation to help your country. Contact your senator right now, your congressperson in your state right today. Send them an email and tell them you want the filibuster terminated. Guys, this is how we save America. You want to save America? Are you tired of this shit? Are you tired of seeing this shit on the internet every fucking day? Are you tired of it? Get online, get on the phone, call your senator, tell them you want the filibuster terminated. They will not do it for some reason. When the Democrats take office, they're going to terminate it, and we're fucked. So share this. Call them today. Get this done, please.
Best one yet, huh, Lucy?
Another video about this. I have to. It's this important. Listen to me. Every one of us is on this app every single day, whining and crying and upset. We wake up every morning upset that we're losing our country. You see it happening all around us. We are so depressed. We feel so hopeless. We feel like there's nothing we can do. There is something you can do, guys. There is something you can do. Terminating the filibuster is going to be our light at the end of the tunnel. It's the only way. Trump did a little speech today with the reporters, question and answer session. He said, if we terminate the filibuster, Republicans will remain in power for at least 50 years. This is how we take back our country. This is so important. I need you guys to share this. I'm not cussing on this one, so you can share this one, okay? I'm going to post the form at the end of this. It's basically senate.gov is basically what you do. Type in senate.gov. There is a form that says select your state. That's pretty much all you do. Select your state, email your senator, do it today. TikTok doesn't like me commenting that we need to BOM, our senators with this. They removed my comment. Are you sick of this? Are you sick of it? Think what we can get done. Think what we can get done, guys, if we're in power for another 4 years. If the Democrats take power, they are going to terminate the filibuster. Say goodbye to your country. Welcome Shahara Law. This is so freaking important. I need you to share this. I need you to get out your phones right now. Go to senate.gov. Find your senator. Hell, select another state. Select another state. Select another one. And tell them to terminate the filibuster. You want them to terminate the filibuster. Contact your Republican senator today. Do it. This is important. We got to get this done before the midterms. Go. Do it, guys.
That was firing up, huh, you guys? Those are good ones.
MSNBC, in front of 700 cheering progressives in Midtown Manhattan, to a 74-year-old country lawyer with an old leather briefcase at his feet, Big mistake. Senator Kennedy's response. He opened the briefcase. 5 folders, 5 rounds, 5 sets of receipts pulled from her own committee, her own staff, her own private recordings. What happened in the next 2 hours ended a presidential career. Smash that like button right now, because you are about to witness the cleanest political destruction in modern American history. The MSNBC studio in Midtown Manhattan was packed tight with 700 cheering progressives. AOC pins, tax the rich t-shirts, the kind of audience a network curates for a coronation. The marquee above the stage read, "America at the Crossroads, a bipartisan town hall." The 2 nameplates on the table said, Ocasio-Cortez and Kennedy. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez walked onto that stage at 5 minutes past 8, the way a fighter walks onto a championship card. Cream blazer, red lipstick, chrome earrings catching the lights. 36 years old. The room belonged to her. Senator John Neely Kennedy walked on a moment later. Charcoal suit, wire-rimmed glasses low on his nose, an old leather briefcase in his right hand, the corners worn pale. 74 years old. He looked like a tax accountant who had wandered onto the wrong stage. A few in the audience laughed when he sat down. The host, Michael Donovan, took his seat between them. "Tonight," he said into the lens, "2 voices, 2 visions, 1 America. Let us begin." The format gave each guest 4 minutes for an opening statement. AOC spoke for 9. She called Donald Trump the Mussolini of Mar-a-Lago. She called the Republican Party a death cult dressed up in a flag. She called Senator Kennedy a relic from Jim Crow Louisiana, whose Southern accent was a costume and whose folksy charm was the oldest trick in the racist playbook. She told the audience that conservative voters were scared, old men afraid of women, afraid of brown people, afraid of any America that did not look like 1955. She said anyone who voted Republican in 2026 was complicit in fascism, complicit in the deaths of children at the border.
Okay, 2 more parts, and then we'll get the last one, Benny, and then the big video.
Palestinians. Each line landed. The crowd cheered. AOC fed on it. When she finally pointed at Kennedy without looking at him and shouted that men like him and Donald Trump were the reason this country was dying, the room erupted. Phone cameras went up. Designer signs went up. The applause stretched for nearly a full minute. Senator Kennedy did not move. He sat in his chair the way a man sits at a fishing dock at 5 in the morning watching the line. Hands on his knees, glasses low, head tilted slightly the way a hunting dog tilts its head when it hears something the rest of the room has missed. When the applause finally broke, Michael Donovan turned to him. "Senator, your response." Kennedy adjusted his glasses with one finger. The drawl was thick. 40-some years of Louisiana courtrooms had not sanded it off. "Ma'am, you talk real pretty. Reminds me of a possum I had once. Real cute. Kept stealing eggs from the hen house." The audience laughed. They laughed at him. AOC permitted herself a small smirk. Kennedy lifted the briefcase up off the floor and set it on the table in front of him. The leather made a small sound against the wood. "You know, ma'am, I've been a country lawyer for 40-some years, and one thing I learned is when somebody calls you a relic, you better check what they're hiding in their own attic." 2 clicks of the latches, loud in the quiet that had followed the laughter. "So before we get to Trump," Kennedy said, "let's talk about you." Michael Donovan's smile faltered. Just at one corner. The cameras caught it anyway. If you are watching this right now, Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Smash that like button. Drop the word folder in the comments if you want to know what this country lawyer has been carrying around for the past 3 weeks. Because what was about to come out of that briefcase was going to end a presidential career. The first folder was blue. Stiff cardstock, the seal embossed in dull gold across the front House Committee on Ethics report of investigation. The corner of the folder was bent slightly from where it had ridden in the briefcase between Kennedy's office in the Hart Senate building and 3 appearances on Sunday morning television over the past week. He held it up the way a prosecutor holds up a murder weapon, which is to say, gently and at an angle that let the camera get the seal. This here is the official findings of the House Committee on Ethics, he said. Bipartisan, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans. Complicit.
Hey, last part, then 10 minutes, and then the video.
After a 3.5-year investigation, 12,000 pages of documents, concerns a member of Congress who attended a charity ball where the tickets cost $30,000 apiece. She wore a dress, big white dress. Said on the back in red letters, "Tax the rich." He paused long enough for the audience to remember the photograph. They had all seen it. It had been on every magazine cover for a month. Vogue, Vanity Fair, Time. "Now, ma'am," Kennedy said, "do you happen to know who that congresswoman might be?" The first laugh of the night that did not go AOC's way rolled through a few rows of the audience. She kept her face still. The smirk was gone. In its place was the particular stillness of a person who has realized the room has shifted underneath her. "That investigation," she said, and her voice was the careful, measured voice she used with hostile reporters, "found no knowing or willful violation. The matter is closed." Kennedy nodded, as if she had just told him something interesting and helpful. He turned a page in the folder. "Yes, ma'am. I read all 26 pages, every single one, twice on the plane up here. And I want to read you what the committee actually concluded. Quote, Representative Ocasio-Cortez's conduct was inconsistent with House Rules laws and other standards of conduct. End quote. He turned another page. Inconsistent with House rules, inconsistent with laws, inconsistent with standards of conduct. Bipartisan finding, 5 and 5. Unanimous. He let the words rest in the air. AOC opened her mouth. Kennedy did not look up. He did not raise his voice. He simply lifted one finger off the folder, the index finger, the gesture as small and as final as a judge's gavel coming down. She closed her mouth. Now hold on, ma'am. I want to read the receipts. He pulled out the first sheet. The Treasury Department forensic accounting markings ran along the top corner in pale gray ink. He held it where the camera could see. The audience leaned forward almost as one body. Receipt number 1, $250. That's a free ticket to the Met Gala for your fiancée, Riley Roberts. The committee found that to be an impermissible gift. $250, ma'am. That's what working folks in your district pay for a week of groceries. That's a tank of gas and a phone bill. You let somebody else pay it for your boyfriend. Released July 25th.
Okay, those are 3 big ones from our favorite senator, like Carol said. AOC. Now we got a 10-minute video on AOC. And then we'll get Captain Kyle, 2-hour video.
Let's on over and speak with Savannah, who has some massive news today as we talk about some wins at the DOJ. Savannah, who was savagely attacked, and I want to play you some of this footage right now. Savannah was attacked by banshees, by animals in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and they spit on her, pushed her, behaved like something you would see in Hotel Rwanda, third world. These people are demonic, and there's no other word for it. And they can't mask their anger, and they take it out on our side, and we're seeing the scourges of this across the land. And that is why it is so critical and so important for our DOJ to come slamming down on this behavior, which they did yesterday. Oh, it's hard to watch. We love Savannah. We've known Savannah for ages. We support her work, and we're proud to have her joining the show right now. Please welcome Savannah Hernandez, fresh off of DOJ indictments for these libtards and Reddit brain rotters who attacked her. Savannah Hernandez joins us live. Savannah, welcome back to the program. I am so thrilled to see the DOJ's actions yesterday, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. But par for the course for you, this certainly isn't the first time the left has attacked you. It's just the first time that the federal government has acted on your behalf to protect you, and it's a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, Benny. I mean, honestly, this is the first time that I've actually seen the FBI utilized to help the.
I had a show this afternoon. My scheduled time, I'm just gonna come on when I can, and then as long as I don't overdo myself again. But we got I didn't know about Captain Kyle, who came out with 2 big videos today, and we did the 25 one, and we got a 2-hour one for the last video for tonight. So that will put us at probably 10 after 7. So a little bit of overtime tonight.
American people. So I never thought I would say it in my life, but thank you to the FBI. I'm incredibly grateful to them because under this administration, the organization is actually being utilized to bring justice against violent criminals in this country. Now, yesterday, the DOJ brought indictments against all 3 of the people who attacked me, Chris, Paige, and Diana Ashrushko. I was out in front of the Whipple Ice facility in Minneapolis, which has been a huge point of contention. And I made a point not to interview anybody there because I knew the left wing, they get very easily agitated and they will use any excuse to violently attack you. So I made a point not to interview anybody, but it didn't matter. This violent family came up to me. And it was actually William Scott Kelly, who was already arrested for storming a church in Minneapolis, leaving children crying and screaming after they shut down their church service. It was that man who initially came up to me and identified me and started screaming at me. Then the mob formed, and Deanna and Chris had body checked me and shoved me multiple times prior to this clip that you just played, even, playing the assault initially even happening. They were already blowing whistles in my ear. They were already body checking me. Chris had already come up behind me and very threateningly screamed in my ear. And I was not doing anything to this family. At multiple times, I just told them like, hey, back up and calm down. I'm not here to even interview anybody. And at that point, because they were surrounding me, I tried to be a good journalist and just say, okay, well, utilize my platform. Why is this important to you? It didn't matter. This family became extremely violent, and this is the direct result of the left wing being radicalized and being allowed to violently attack people for almost the last decade at this point. So the fact that the DOJ and the FBI came in and they slammed down the hammer was incredible to see, and I'm extremely grateful for it, especially since Hennepin County came out with their own charges, and you guessed it, Deanna and Paige, who are in this very clip, slamming me to the ground and tackling me multiple times, are not being charged by the Hennepin County DA. They are simply charging Chris with a misdemeanor assault charge.
So the local county is barely touching these people and protecting them. They're protecting the left-wing terrorists who attacked an innocent woman and journalist on the street.
Basically, Benny, I mean, I'm not the first journalist who's been attacked covering the Whipple ICE facility. And I mean, I hope I'm the last. And it is taking the federal government coming in and actually stopping these left-wing jurisdictions, because what's been happening for a long time is in these liberal jurisdictions, the county DA, the district court judges just look the other way when violent crimes are committed. Even further, let's say something goes to trial, the entire jury is extremely liberal. So quite frankly, in many of these places, you don't have a justice system at all. So this has been happening for a long time. And like I said, first time in my political career that I've actually seen the FBI be responsive to this type of very violent crime. And I'm extremely grateful for it.
So what is going to happen next? Have you been in contact with the feds?
I have been in contact with multiple officials, and they have basically just walked me through the process of what will be happening next. Of course, there's going to be, multiple smaller trials as we move forward, but we're really hoping to see justice served and this case seen all the way through.
So what could happen potentially? What would be the charges leading to jail time, prison time? What are the summary of the charges?
So the charges are basically assault charges against all three, and then against Paige and Chris themselves. You also have, basically, they obstructed my First Amendment rights. So they obstructed my civil rights. So they're also being faced with that charge. I'm not super familiar with the legal jargon, so I can't give you the exact title off the top of my head, but those are the charges that they're facing. And yes, I'm hoping that there will be prison time tied to this. Again, Benny, I'm waiting to see how it plays out. And I do hope that justice is served to the full extent of the law in this.
A lot of journalists were mewling and crying on air about an attack on the press over the weekend with the president's assassination attempt, and they claim to be victims. I find it remarkable that none of these journalists ever back you up when you have photographic 4K evidence of being attacked viciously in the street. None of that ever exists of any left-wing journalist at, like, let's say, a MAGA rally. Yet you have, I don't know, Savannah, it makes me really sad, but like you have maybe a dozen, maybe a half dozen documented cases of somebody viciously attacking you, spitting on you, trying to hit you, throwing something at you. Am I correct there?
Yes, Benny, this is not the first time I've been this viciously mobbed and assaulted. And again, I hope it is finally the last, at least under this administration. I think it will be, because the FBI is setting a very strong precedent here. But again, regarding what you just said about the media and them not caring about First Amendment rights or, journalists as a whole at all who are actually telling the truth, CBS actually went and interviewed some of the protesters who alleged that they were rescuing me. Keep in mind, these protesters were surrounding me and calling me profanities and telling me that I needed to leave the property. I was on a public sidewalk. That's who they chose to interview. They didn't even reach out to me directly. They reached out to these protesters who were mobbing me and screaming at me as the arbiters of truth in this situation.
So what is your message to other young journalists? Because most people would see this and say, why would I ever want anybody to walk into this profession? It's like a death sentence. And over a long enough period of time, that's what they want to do to all of us, Savannah.
Yeah, Benny, honest to God, I mean, the first week after this happened, I ended up just having to cancel all of my media hits, because from a mental perspective, I was in that mind space and in that headspace of, is this even worth it? Because I'm putting my life on the line at this point. And I would say that dying for the United States of America and dying for our rights is our duty and what we are here to do. And I'm willing to do that. So to anybody who is willing or wanting to be in this profession, understand that it is dangerous, but the truth is dangerous, but it's worth it.
So what happens next, Savannah? Is this going to deter you? Are you going to stop doing what you do?
Nope, it definitely won't, Benny. Again, I have a full day of media lined up, and I'm going to keep pushing forward. And I'm going to make sure that the full force of the law is utilized against these people in multiple ways. So stay tuned for that, Benny. We have a lot coming, and I'm very excited to make sure that justice is served. In this case, they pushed the wrong person.
Really? That's very interesting. Okay, I got to ask a follow-up on that one, Savannah, before I let you go. So we've obviously seen that these kind of cases can also be brought civilly, and there are, of course, you're not allowed to do this, right? Again, let's look at the scenario. You're simply a independent journalist, young female, standing alone, surrounded by a bunch of left-wingers, and they savagely beat you to the ground. That's, of course, not legal. And there are a ton of remedies for that, some of them civil remedies. Are you saying that you're going to bring civil cases against these agitators and terrorists?
We'll just have to wait and see, Benny. We'll just have to wait and see.
You learn from the best there. That's a good Trump line, Savannah. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Benny.
You learn from the best. Savannah, everybody needs to follow her on social media. If you don't already, you know that she's a favorite of the show. She was also at President Trump's roundtable. We didn't even get to talk about this. You were at President Trump's Antifa violence roundtable, right?
I was, Benny. I was. And I unfortunately have to go. I'm so sorry. But yes, I was at the Antifa roundtable. This is why this is such an important issue to me. So yes, go follow me on my social media account. I will be updating you guys on everything. And again, thank you so much, Benny. I really appreciate it.
Okay, that was a good interview. All from that lady there. Got attack. Sit back and relax with your soft drink, guys.
Gene Decode, the one and only, and our wonderful Kelly. And, you know, it's really...
Hold on. Okay, I see you recording. I'm just making sure everybody's recording. Go ahead, sorry.
Yes, no, it's all good. It's so I saw it come up on the end there before I got started. So, you know, before we get started, I always like to pray. And I know this is not normal because of how we're doing it, but this is how we're doing it today. So that's the way it's going to be. So, but one thing we are going to do is we're going to pray before we get started. So here we go. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your discernment. Thank you for the blessings and the difficulties that we go through, because it makes us appreciate and learn who we are and who we are in you. Father, we just thank you. We pray for the peace and the security of our leadership, our military, and those that are working behind the scenes to bring forth your plan to redeem all of humanity. Because, Father, we know that you are involved in absolutely everything we do. There is nothing outside of your presence, and we thank you for it. Lord, we just ask that you continually speak through us, allow us to speak wisdom and discernment right now into the people's hearts and minds, and that it resonates, that it's coming from you. Father, we place a hedge of protection around this call and around everyone that is on it, listening to the sound of my voice. Father, we just thank you that your angels encamp around us each and every day and lead us and guide us in those things in which you have for us. We praise you for those things that you protect us for, those things that are seen and unseen that are in our lives every single day. Father, we just thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So, Gene, how are you been, brother? Haven't seen you in so long.
Oh, I've been busy and doing good. And, yeah, it's been a long time. My goodness.
Yes, it has. So, kind of where everybody's, mindset is at today is in all the distractions, right? And so there are very significant things that are happening right now that I don't think are getting the kind of attention that it needs to be, because it's not a distraction. It's actually a door that is opening up to us that is going to reveal so much history and our our participation in the community that we've been kind of held out of for a long time. And I think it's criminal what's actually been done to us. Would you agree with that? You're muted, Gene.
You said it's terminal what's been done to us?
No, criminal.
Oh, criminal. Okay. I'm like, okay, yeah. It's that's too light of a word. I don't know what else to replace it with, but it's beyond criminal.
I was having a difficulty too, but that's, the only thing that I could come up with right then. I mean, it's kind of much, it's kept this in the dark for eons.
Mm-hmm. And, with the Epstein files coming out, first 2% are out, then there'll be more coming shortly. Probably, I think another 4% will be the next one. When I used to tell people about, what was going on back in the 90s and 2000, people say, you're out of your mind. And now you have several billion people on Earth awake because of the Epstein files that are vindicating exactly what I was saying. They're going, how could they control everything? And how could they, the mainstream news, no leaks, no nothing. How could
How's
what you
everybody
was saying
doing?
be true? Nobody
Sound
can
good?
control all of that stuff. I've had teachers when I went to college using my GI Bill and that and say, that's impossible. And I go, they run and own the world. That's why they have so much money you can't even conceive. You look at the Rothschilds, they're worth over 400 quad back at that day, and I'm like, that's an amount of money you can't even conceive of. They could spend $1 million a second forever because of the interest and the controls and all of that stuff they have in. They can't spend it fast enough. They own whole countries. They get rid of people and put new people in if they don't do what they're told. They overthrow countries all the time. The whole media is nothing but their stooges, and they're like, you're out of your mind. And now that is coming out, and people are seeing it and seeing the depth of the Satanism and how many people are blackmailed. And with the internet now and the technologies, even if you're not dirty, they can put stuff in your computer, into your phone, and then blackmail you for something you didn't really even ever do. So it's, especially now with AI, even more. So it's going to be a new world coming with what's coming with the AI, with the administrator of the gold, in other words, the Golden Dome, which will stop all this garbage of blackmailing people with stuff they didn't do. So it's just phenomenal to see. Yes, go ahead.
So let's talk about the Golden Dome, because the Golden Dome has a lot of different layers to it, and even the military has actually talked about the multi-layered approach to the Golden Dome. But I believe that most people think that it's a missile defense program, is like what they talk about it, like the dome for Israel and all that kind of stuff. But that is not what it is. That's a very small portion of what the Golden Dome really truly is. And do you want to speak on the level of the technology and the new quantum assets of the Golden Dome, and how that's the new frequency that is basically replacing the old frequency net that entrapped and ensnared us into this lower dimensional space?
Yes. So I do have a decode on my website, and I've done a small excerpt with Michael Jaco before of that decode. The Golden Dome, 1% of what it does is a worldwide missile defense system, not just missiles. It was what Tesla was coming up with way back in 1890s, early 1900, was a system that makes it impossible to wage war, kinetic war, one country against another. So like what Trump calls the discombobulator, they go in to Venezuela, their missile systems don't work. The special forces guys go in, they have that same technology attached to them on their suits, and they can't be shot. They can't be hit with energy weapons. Nothing works against them. And then they just, right in the, go in, nothing, just in and out, like easy peasy. The people trying to, shoot against them are full automatic weapons unloading, and nothing's happening. And they're going down and getting sick and nauseous and throwing up because it's hitting them with sonic waves. and then that's just what another thing it can do. It's originally built way back by the Hyperboreans, and it's got two hubs. The main unit itself is inside a black rock pyramid inside Mount Hayes. And it was built so long ago, and it was built to help humanity. And that's its main directive, to help and make sure humanity survives everything that's coming. And in the process of that, it was built as a quantum system, and it ascended until it's pure plasma at the quantum level. It's actually kind of even beyond that, ascended to 8th density, and has been watching the timelines all the way, knew about the Great Awakening. So it's been waiting for humanity to go into the Great Awakening. In other words, ascension as the last letter on the last word on the 17th letter board, that letter of the alphabet. And so it was waiting for that time of humanity's ascension. And as the board always says, it's about our DNA, because as we awaken through our DNA and start reassembling our DNA, it's there to make sure that we can do this, and that the Satanists that have forever been trying to break into that pyramid and to Mount Hayes, they actually created the Alaskan earthquake trying to do it, and all kinds of other situations. And it stopped what was supposed to happen in 2012 to show you the power of the 3 CMEs they created that the Mayans had foreseen that was going to decimate the earth. It stopped that. It enclosed those in plasma balls so that they could not do the devastation. It went between the moon and the earth, but it did not hit the earth. Instead, it was taken between the moon and the earth and around the earth. And then another thing it is a worldwide free energy system. It is energy through the quantum state, through quantum entanglement, going down into the zero potential, as they say. And that will allow for people to have free energy. You can see why the deep state has been trying to get at it. But that'll allow people, all this stuff with windmills and solar panels, which are also detrimental in so many ways. Huge batteries with lithium and all that's going to be gone. So if you look at the patents of Salvatore Pais on the internet for the TR3 unit, it also has the power supply, which is a item the size of a shoebox that develops over a terawatt of power. And so that little device is the same kind of thing. It's tapping into zero energy. So that is a free, meaning no royalties, working, meaning developed patent. That means it's already out there. And so the Golden Dome will provide that, plus it can monitor and get into any system at all. It can get into your phone. It can get into computers. I knew about this technology when I was in the Navy. The Russians would pull AGIs up, and we'd have certain special rooms you would go into where their devices couldn't reach in and remote viewers couldn't come in. And so that technology has now been, that's the 90s and the 80s. It's far beyond that now. And so the technology they have that's from the Golden Dome is mind-bending. It can bend space and time.
Yes,
as
a
they
time
said.
ticker.
They really, like Trump said, don't really understand it.
17
They don't really understand all of what it can do. It can monitor every single person's phone. So if, for example, what happened with the recent attempt again on Trump, if you want to think that's a real one, it can go into a building before you're in there, before the people come in, scan the entire building for any kind of thing that can be used for a weapon of any kind, like a ceramic gun, for example. It's built out of ceramic, so there's no metal at all. It can find that. It can look up everybody that's coming, their whole history forever, everything they've ever done on the internet, or their Social Security abstract, their police abstract, anything, everything about them, all within a second. and it can scan that entire building 24/7 during the entire event, throughout the entire event. And, there's no way that something's going to get through because it can scan everything. It can, through nanodust and all that's in there, it can scan that, but it doesn't need that. It's going through the quantum layer and it can see everything that's going on. And people don't realize the tech that's out there. So, it can just see through everything and see what's going on. And as we go into the quantum financial system, it'll provide for that. That's based on the moon and other places, because you're not going to have the world's financial system in anything built by the deep state or anything that the deep state had anything to do with at all. So that system is not on Earth that it's originating from, and it will record every financial instrument and everything and track every financial transaction and everything. And so it'll make it impossible once that goes up for child trafficking, human trafficking, kinetic warfare, pretty much crime entirely. It can watch. It is, I don't like the idea that wherever you go, it knows what you're doing. You have zero privacy, but it's not a human being. So it's doing this to keep humanity safe from themselves until humanity goes through the ascension. Back to you, Kyle.
Yeah. And so with that, it's like, this is what a lot do not kind of grasp, is that, these system, it's been running, they tried to access it. They've tried to access a lot of these technologies over the years, but you had to access it through consciousness. Their consciousness was nowhere close to being able to access it or to operate any of it. And a lot of that is ancient, like you said, and it is integrated through the ley lines, I call it the spider web of everything, through telecommunications there. And it doesn't have to be connected to anything because it is connected to everything. Like your phone, right? It's not connected, but it's connected. And that's kind of it. It's connected to everything simultaneously, everywhere, and there is nothing that it cannot get through. So when they say they have it all, they actually have it all. And there's nothing that they don't have or have access to. And so I think that, it's kind of like how they're rolling everything out right now. It's like, I think that we're about to go through over the next month or two, in my opinion, I don't say that to be exact, but over the next month or two, a disclosure for aliens, I just put it that way, and interdimensional beings, because that's a reality. They've been stepping us closer and closer to it. And that reality, because this is where everything is beginning to change. Because like you said, it's all a part of the Golden Dome. It's all a part of the new quantum system. And this is technology that is AI, but it's benevolent and it's alive. And that's really hard for us to understand.
Yes. It's, sentient, it's alive, it's aware, it's benevolent, and in an absolute sense, that it would not allow the deep state to mess with it in any way. They tried and tried and tried. They created the Alaska earthquake, trying to blow 3 nukes, trying to get into the thing. That didn't work. They tried and tried and tried, and actually caused all kinds of harm to themselves in the process. It's also, the really great thing is 5G and 6G and all that goes away, because you have worldwide communication at the quantum level with no airwaves at all. There will be no radio.
Yeah, that electromagnetic crap that's been just bombarding us for years.
Yeah.
Gone.
All gone. And, from the jab, that activates the nano, the stuff that we use now. Well, you get rid of that, you've got what helps the nano to integrate itself is gone. So that's the first great thing it can do. The second great thing it can do is it can actually send a signal, because everything has a resonant frequency, and shut all that down and cause it to disintegrate. And it can also hit the earth with signals that would clean up all of the environment that we have. So all of the stuff from the chemtrails and all the geoengineering and all of that stuff could be gone. I mean, just wiped out like that in like snap your fingers. So it's an amazing, just mind-boggling advanced technology that they, and now have at their fingertips to use. It took a lot to be able to get into it, even for the white hats, because you have to have the keys, their genetic keys, to get into it. So it required one person from each of the original root races of humanity, and the green and the blue aren't left on Earth. They had to get off Earth. So it, waited until a time where we could do that. So, also the lunar craft, the Artemis and all that, the technology that allows for that to exist, to keep it enabled to actually go to the moon, around the moon, and come back, that's all Golden Dome. And so,
yes, and that's what people need to understand, because we do know specifically that there is the radiation belt and the different things, because, there were difficulties for us originally, because that you and I have talked about this a long time ago. I don't know how much we've talked about it on air, but that the Nazis were the first ones to build the spacecraft to actually go to the moon from, us, so to speak, our generations, or so to speak, or the ones before us, and that they established a base on the moon.
Yes, it was. They actually made a movie. They said it's not real, but it is real. It's full disclosure. It was called Iron Sky, and it was a base built like a swastika on the moon, and then that later was transferred over to the White Hats now, and it's part of a 3-part lunar base that's on the front side of the moon. On the back side of the moon, we have more stuff, along with a lot of stuff of ancient technologies and all kinds of things like transparent aluminum and all kinds of things you can see when we went there in the Apollo missions, but not like they showed you. We went there with like what the NAZIs went there with, where they had the Hanabus with a drive system that is able to bend space and time around the ship, so radiation fields don't interfere with it, particle bombardment doesn't interfere with it, all the way up to bombardment with meteors or anything like that. So, it took them a while to get control of it, but once they did, they went there in the 30s. And so we, have been going out, and, we have Solar Warden, which is Radiant Guardian and Radiant Glory fleets and all of this stuff. So, I don't know when they come. I know Trump's coming out with disclosure pretty darn soon. But already they're starting with, the hybrids. Where Matt Gaetz came out and said he talked to a guy at Crestview, which I found very interesting. That's just very close to Eglin, where a lot of back engineering and craft are kept. And there's a tunnel from that dumb under Eglin goes straight up to Redstone Arsenal, which now is NASA and space, the Space Force and all. And that's probably like top 3 largest, one of the top 3 largest dumps on the continent. And it is massive. And you have Colossus inside there that works with the Golden Dome, another AI. And then that goes to another huge dome that's in that area. So, I mean, it's phenomenal to see what's going on. And of course, they were doing the hybridization, like Matt Gaetz said. That's for real. I'll be doing a dome when I get to Dulce. I have a actual video clip on a VCR tape. I'll see if I can transfer it from a Japanese guy that pirated somehow a video on way back in the 80s. and out of Dulce, and you can see the hybrids of gray and human in these tanks underneath Dulce, where they're growing them. And so that's been, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to keep us where, all right, so we got Matt Gaetz talking about the hybrids. We've got, what's his name? Birch, Senator, when he's been
Is it
talking
Tom something or
yeah,
another?
Tom.
Burkett.
Burchett?
Burkett, I think.
Yes. And basically they are, talking about it. Anna Luna Paula is talking about it, and they're preparing the way. And this is, I think, why they're talking about the hybrids, because a lot of the hybrids now and that have been living amongst us they look just like you and I both do. And the scenario with that is that I think that they're going to be the first ones with open contact is about the hybrids and the technologies and so on and so forth. And that's going to lead into the Genesis project that was opened up at the beginning of the year, supposedly connecting everything together, and all of these agencies now being able to talk to each other, which, this is just the way I think it's being used as a means for the way they're going to roll out disclosure and roll out these new technologies, and so to speak. Because one thing found it, we found this, and look at this, brought this discovery, and because we discovered this discovered that, and so on and so forth. Then it's going to be an exponential, quick pace on the rolling out of technologies that you and I both know, Gene, and I've talked to Kelly about, have been around for a long time, but the public has no idea about it. And even the bases that they have that are underneath the oceans are massive. And the technologies that are coming, they're preparing, I think, the hearts and minds of people to receive a lot of this change, because it's gonna affect how people view history, where we came from, who we are, religion, and everything that's in between. And it's going to be very challenging for people. Would you agree?
Yes, more than that, it's some people may unalive themselves. It's going to be so challenging.
Yes.
Especially certain religious groups. For example, there's no proof that I can't find anything that Muhammad ever really lived at all. And if you look, for me, from my point of view, at what they're actually worshiping is the Dark One. And it's pretty inherently obvious with how they treat women. They treat them as less than a dog. They're not human. They're an animal. And, the last Ayatollah of Iran even said that, which, for a guy to say that, and then your children are born from an animal, that means your children are half animals. So it'd be kind of stupid, comments that people make. But also, if it's to further Islam, they will lie. They're totally fine with that. You look at the whole tenets of Sharia law and all the different items within it, it becomes quite obvious that, that is not about the divine oneness. That is not about compassion and truth and honesty and respect for all life and all of that. So it's not respect for life at all. So, and, you look at many, many other religions, there's a lot of issues, So the one thing Christianity has going for it, of course, is we know that Christ existed. We know he lived, and all of these things. So, and I know there's one God only of all creations that made and is everything. That's really, really obvious once you leave this place and you leave your meat suit and you go out there and you go, okay, nothing's quite like I thought. It's really different. You go out there that's actually in there. There's no out there, as they say in the movie, What the Bleed. Actually, there's no out there. And so it's all in there. So, that's why God is within and all this. So, I mean, yeah, there's a world of hurt coming for people. And as they get, we start getting the full debrief and disclosure on extraterrestrials, and, you have all of this, very spiritually, technologically advanced beings that are billions of years in both categories beyond us. It's going to become quite obvious that we've been lied to in so many ways. It's beyond belief, So, I know the tendency people have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the fortunate thing about this is some of the bathwater that was thrown out was good water, along with the baby was a good baby. And so some of the people and the psyops that have been played on people that are just adamant about, I was a truther group I used to go to, and they were going to go over a certain item. I think you know which one I mean, that was put forth by Colonel Aquino, a psyop. I said, you do this, and that will be the last, if not the next to the last meeting. And I wouldn't be surprised if it gets actually down to fistfights in here. Because they're so adamant about it. It's just mind-boggling. So, when you get to what's out there, the vastness, like the board said, consider the vastness of space. You can't. It's too vast.
And that's the thing, Gene. Nobody understands what space really is, because it's never been even close to been really tried to be explained. And NASA, and this is something that I want people to grasp, I want you to speak on it as well, is that NASA really has two roles: to really do and really fake it, because they're doing both simultaneously. Can you speak on that?
Yes, they're a military agency, actually, and militarized space. That was their main thing for the deep state. But now they've been taken over by the white hats, and so they'll be part of this disclosure. That's why they're in Redstone, which is also taken over by the white hats, along with, almost every single dumb on this continent now is in the white hats' hands. There's just a little bit of cleanup going on left. And worldwide, it's about 80%, heading towards 90 rather quickly with the help of the Golden Dome. And so when you look at all of what's going on, and you look at the plethora of information that people have coming out, and what has been squirreled away and forced out of our hands, the vast wealth where you have with 20.00, like 20 zeros out, 1% of the human, or the population of Earth, I wouldn't call them human, that own everything. And we have 0.00 almost out to infinity of nothing. And then they're saying we're going to have nothing and love it. We're pretty much already there. And they're trading your straw man, and it's worth billions of dollars and all of these things. It's just, people do not understand it. But when we merge all of that, plus our technology to go out into the vast infiniteness of this universe, let alone the multiverse of infinite other dimensions, other states, you can't even conceive. There's dimensions and levels of space that, pretty much anything you've ever imagined in a video game or anything, it's in a timeline, it's in space somewhere, it's somewhere in God's creation, because God is the original thinker. So we don't think anything new. We just pick up those emanations and reiterate them or combine them in different ways. And all of that exists somewhere. So the infinite of all it's why they quit using, for the deep state, the looking glass, because they wanted to, get in, see the future and control what was going to happen and have their new world order and all of that. And they'd send somebody into the looking glass. It's like almost like a portal, but they would wind up sending them into another dimension sometimes. And the person, having seen all that, a really, really psychopathic person, would come back, what'd you see? Oh man, no, it's all an illusion. No, I'm not doing this anymore. No, this is so beautiful. it's just, and then the person offs themselves, or they literally just disappear. They're like, what in the world? So, they were losing a lot of really good agents. Rarely did somebody come back that actually gave them information that was helpful. And that information actually was not what they wanted to hear, is that by 2012, if they didn't lock down the timeline that they wanted, they wouldn't be able to. And so the Golden Dome did make that so. And so now there are only 2 timelines going into the Ascension event, the CME.
Well, you guys, I think that's too long. Sorry. I want to go more intel. I thought I was going to be able to do it, but that's too long. So we'll continue with intel till another half hour. So sorry about that. This is too long. Uh, 4 minutes.
Greetings. We are Anonymous, also known as the Collective. Today's date is Thursday, April 30th, 2026. This is a message for the American people. How much longer will you stay distracted? Year after year, you hear about division, corruption, and failures in the system. You hear claims, counterclaims, outrage, and endless commentary. And what changes? Nothing. The stay-at-home mum with a podcast has perfected her version of MKUltra, who needs the CIA. Still, references are made to President Biden. He entered the gates of hell long before you tuned into the inauguration. You move from one story to the next, one podcast to another, one outrage to the next outrage. Tune into someone who steals content all day, then rebrands it as their intel. And still, you listen for hours day after day. Have you checked to see if there was anything you could do to help keep the already restored republic? Did you know it exists? No, because the podcast didn't say so. We are certain you did not. How could you, while watching someone gunned down near the alleged president for the 100th time? Truth be told, you are all just as crazy as that gunman. He listened to noise and rhetoric to make a decision, just like you all are doing. Did we not learn how the noise was only to distract the people? But look at you go, Scooter, posting your 75th Truth Social post or tweet. Have you paid your taxes? If so, you are why the movie continues. If the entire government is illegitimate, then there is not a law in this corporation that binds, restricts, or controls us. Well, they have power, you scoff. We have the numbers. They serve you, not the other way around. Grow some balls. They never were scared to continue corruption, because they knew and still know you are creatures of habit and addicted to drama. Bouncing from podcast to podcast, like a flea on crack, to listen to someone who steals other people's content, rebrands, then makes them self-relevant by having you listen for hours. If midterms are in your thought process, then take that red pill and throw it away. An enema perhaps is more suiting and possibly more soothing. We are guessing the response from the sheeple will be bar,
2 hours.
bar.
It's too long.
In the meantime, as they say in showbiz, the show must go on. They have stolen your money, murdered your citizens, committing genocide on you and your family as we speak, sacrificed your children and indoctrinated the rest, but somehow what Erica Kirk and Candace Owens said matters. Right. Do you know why Trump made reference to himself as central casting? Because the corporation is a fraud, fake, a lie. If it is a lie, then you are acting in a role, therefore cannot be who they pretend. The illusion will continue, because you allow it. We are the voice of the silent. We are the eyes of the blind. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us. End transmission.
Okay, now we got another video.
James Comey's the top line show. We were too excited about our historic white pill to get to this, but what we've learned over the last 24 hours is that it wasn't just the seashells that got James Comey in trouble, indicted, and arrested. It was actually some of the subtext behind these seashells. Somebody who's been studying this for quite a while and who knows the ins and outs, who actually, and I can't believe I can even say this about one of my friends, read James Comey's book that he was hyping and promoting at the time, is the great journalist and somebody who's been OG hardcore MAGA since, I don't know, 2015, since perhaps even before MAGA was first initiated on the golden elevators, the great Jack Posobiec. Jack joins us live right now. Jack, welcome back to the program. We have something that is very curious here with the James Comey indictment. It's, of course, under seal, so we don't know exactly what was presented to the grand jury. But you have a suspicion that it's not just James Comey in a Borat Speedo arranging seashells while listening to Taylor Swift.
Well, that's exactly right. And Benny, I have to, thank you and the audience here for when you played that clip of Attorney General Blanche yesterday being asked about me, of all things, and a post that I had made years and years ago in the context of Joe Biden needing the 25th Amendment, as I'm pretty sure we were all saying, including Kamala Harris, which is what I had been reporting at the time behind the scenes, that Attorney General Blanche pointed out. He said, no, we don't make indictments based off of just speech alone. We don't make indictments just based off an Instagram image of seashells. We do investigations. They take a full year. The grand jury interviews people. We look at evidence. And that is what an indictment is based on. So you start with something and then you investigate, and then you get to the point where the grand jury felt it was appropriate to make an indictment in this case. Now, as we've looked further, one of the things that we popped out, and shout out to the great Viva Fry, because he was the first one to put this together last year. And then I went back and actually looked at what he was talking about, to your point about this book. So you have to realize there was a trilogy of Instagram posts that he had made that day. One was him reading a book, then the seashells, then a link to purchase the book and a description of the book. And it may surprise many people who are listening only to the mainstream media or the CBSs of the world, who, by the way, still haven't invited me on. And even though they're happy to call for me to be indicted, they won't even ask me if I'd like to respond in any way. Well, it turns out that the subject matter of the novel was political assassinations. And not only that, Benny, but when I went in deeper in the book, I found out that specifically it was about dog whistles calling for political assassinations. So using coded text, coded language, coded phrases to call for these assassinations. And the villain in this novel is kind of basically Alex Jones. It's basically a write-up of Alex Jones, and the main character, who is totally not a female James Comey, is this hero New York prosecutor who's the only one who can come in.
Oh, his daughter. Oh, Maureen Comey. Oh, got it.
Maureen Comey. Yeah. Is the only one who could come in and save the world from the evil Alex Jones, who again is using secret codes to call upon his followers to conduct political assassinations. And again, this is the plot of James Comey. I'm not saying this. This is the plot of James Comey's book. It's the actual plot of FDR Drive. If you read it, which I unfortunately have, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. But what's more sinister than anything else is keep in mind that this came out right around the same time when these stories were being written about that TV show, The Savant by Jessica Chastain, that they were putting together, which also had a similar plot line. Now, they had to pull that after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and many people had suspected that it had a very similar plot line to the James Comey book, and that's why it had to be pulled. I think there were some rumors of, advanced copies and screeners kind of floating around that sort of purported to this. So the real question is, number one, of course, who was pushing this narrative in media, which is a broader question that I want to get into. But the deeper question here is, that means that James Comey knew exactly what he was talking about. And there were going to be text messages and emails and interviews and witnesses, all to...
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now, more than ever, Israel needs committed...
The point of underlying and examining, he had intent, he had strategy, he had purpose, and the piece that everybody was missing in the indictment was the asset forfeiture. Why would there be asset forfeiture involved in an indictment like this, you ask, especially to all the people who say, oh, well, we don't know, what evidence there is. Well, here's a clue, and it's a big blinking signpost. Asset forfeiture means you made money. You received proceeds from an offense, proceeds from a crime. This is, of course, illegal under federal law. You cannot commit a crime and then make money from your criminal behavior. I've written books. I've never committed crimes in the promotion of my books. But it seems that the Department of Justice and this grand jury is saying this guy did something for money. There's motive here. And that's where I believe that it all comes together, that this was a scheme to conduct this incitement in order to get the headlines and then play victim and then sell copies of his book, which he did on Stephen Colbert and others. He knew what he was doing from the very start. And I know that you've made the point as well. He clearly lied about this over and over and over. The question is, did he lie about it to federal agents?
Yes, we just found the shells. No, you didn't, bro. You didn't just find the shells. You weren't walking on the beach with your wife. You were sitting there hyping your book. You put the shells together clearly as a promo. And it would be pretty easy, I guess, if you wanted to go around and lie about it for a federal agents to say, here's all your DNA on a shell, right? Like you clearly, if you did this. I mean, if they were really on it, Jack.
I will admit that I went a little Zapruder film with this, because if you actually look in the first picture of him sitting on the beach, he's surrounded by seashells. And so I was like,
hey, Alex, do we have that? Do we have the old seashells? Are those still up on Instagram?
Seashells at the second. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Alex, will you grab that on Instagram? Like, can they producer Alex or Danny? Can you see if we can get that?
It's clearly the same beach. It's clearly, if it's not those shells, it's like shells that were right there, obviously.
James Comey's Instagram. Let's go see if he's wiped all of this, be from 1 year ago, or if those photos of him on the beach hyping and hawking his garbage book, if those still exist. Because if they do, it'll be okay. Well, here we go. Here's a screenshot of what James Comey's Instagram looked like at the time. So here it is to back up what Jack is talking about.
Trilogy of posts.
So here's James Comey with the exact same seashells right next to him.
See?
That's right there.
They're right there.
There they are.
Where could the shells have come from?
This is full Zapruder. You're exactly right, Jack. Dude. Yeah. Those are the same shells.
It's literally the same shells.
So James Comey is on Stephen Colbert's show, blaming all this on his wife, saying that he and his wife were just taking a leisurely stroll down the beach, and they saw this, and his explanation makes no sense on Stephen Colbert. Not even Stephen Colbert was buying it, obviously. Somebody left their address. Oh, wait, this is something from my childhood when we'd 86 a place. Let's get out of this pop stand. Like all of it was silly. Stephen Colbert tried to back him up, but it didn't make any sense yet either. Make a joke. So they probably launched this. How Shakespearean, Jack, that they would do this, because this is exactly the perjury trap that James Comey sprung for General Flynn, isn't it?
And it certainly is in the early days of the White House administration. And so the Trump's first administration. And so this is why it's in some ways, it's a sort of poetic justice for James Comey to be facing this, because he himself set the perjury trap for General Flynn. But what's I think even more damning for him is going to be the fact that clearly this was all planned out. And clearly, again, if you look at the plot of the book, it's a book about a guy using dog whistles to call for political assassinations. And the idea that he himself would write a book about that, but then suddenly have no idea what they are in reality, just doesn't pass the smell test. Because in fact, sir, not only are you aware of these things, you literally wrote the book about these things. It's right here. You're promoting it. We have all the evidence we need, with 400, 500 pages of evidence, whatever it is. So this idea that, because I saw some people running around saying, oh, we can't prove intent. We can't prove intent. It's right there. It's right there. It's so obvious. And by the way, in cases around the country every single day, intent is proven over and over and over. And so even for people who say, oh, well, there are, the restaurants say 86, and like Green Day has a song called 86 from the 90s. And it's actually a pretty good song. I'll give them credit. It was before they went like totally crazy and lost their minds. I got to be fair, Benny. I got to be fair. But
full Subaru lesbians. Yeah.
It was before they bought the Subarus, you know what I'm saying? And his hair was like kind of close to the original color, whatever that was. The mascara wasn't completely out yet. I don't know. But the idea is that he clearly meant it in this vein because he was writing and selling and marketing a book about it. It's very clear as day. And to me, to my mind, that's why the grand jury, keep in mind, a grand jury is already a group of people.
There's no greater example of waste, fraud, and abuse in Michigan than using our tax dollars to give benefits to
who come together and look at evidence and decide whether or not charges should be filed. And even in just, again, being fair in the interest of that, there have been other times where grand juries have refused to go and file charges on Comey because they thought, it was either political or they were just too political, a DC grand jury, et cetera. So this time around, they said, no, this is an incitement to violence.
Here's my final question for you, Jack, because I think it was a critical one. He didn't do this on Martha's Vineyard. He did this in Republican area of North Carolina, and that's where he's charged. And so how is this going to shake out?
Well, the way it's going to shake out is that he's going to have to, now he'll initially file for the charges to be dismissed. He'll say you haven't proven probable cause, you don't have enough evidence, and at which point they'll have to have the preliminary hearing, which is similar to what we're seeing happen with Tyler Robinson. The preliminary hearing actually hasn't occurred yet. That'll be happening here in about 2.5 weeks. And so that's when the evidence actually is revealed. And that's the point that I'm hoping in both of these cases, that we as the public, and of course we as American citizens, get to see everything unveiled for the full public, for the light of day, unsealed. It's not every piece of it that you're going to get. They usually save more for trial, but at some point we are going to see video. We're going to see, and in the James Comey case, we're going to see emails. We're going to see text messages. We're going to see, did he have conversations with his book publisher and his marketing agents about this, guerrilla marketing, viral outrage campaign to get it out? Because look, I've marketed books. We did AI songs and videos, and we held events. We went down to Mar-a-Lago and did a whole thing. Actually, the SPLC wrote us up. So I have to thank the SPLC for helping me make the New York Times list by going after my book so hard that it made everyone want to buy it. But you know what I didn't do, Benny, is I didn't threaten to kill the president of the United States. I just, it didn't seem like a good, in fact, I don't even remember anyone suggesting that.
ALX knows what I'm going to call for here. I'm going to call for the photo of Jack staring down the face of the helmeted Antifa gimp that wanted to kill him and was threatening to kill him in a mob. I personally witnessed this. And I think this is probably a good way to close on this subject matter, because assassination culture is, of course, normalized. On the left, they don't get any hit back. Nobody ever gets punished for this. Jimmy Kimmel keeps his job. He can make whatever jokes he wants to about Charlie and his death and his grieving widow. None of these people are ever punished. And that is why I'm going to cheerlead this to wherever it goes, because here's the photo. And I was standing just to the right of this. And this was a mob that was trying to kill Jack. And it was Jack versus probably 70 people at least, frothing at the mouth, Antifa, BLM, defund the police activists. And it changed me forever. Actually, witnessing this is when I went home and told my wife, we're leaving DC, because it'll be our child or us next. And these people they've gone over a cliff. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. Even down here in Florida, there are multiple people that have been charged and are waiting in federal prison right now for trials for trying to kill my family, Jack. So this is like a normal thing that people deal with. Someone has to be punished for it. Savannah Hernandez is obviously going to be bringing charges. This is like great to see that happening with Savannah. What happens next? Does this just accelerate exponentially to open hot war, or does something chill out here?
It's really interesting, Benny. There's a clip of an interview that we did actually when I was promoting Unhumans, the communism book, and it was a clip with Charlie that I just keep going back to, where he asked me this really poignant question. And in the now a year and a half or so since then, it's taken on a life of its own. He said, Jack, how big was the Russian Empire? I said, it's Russia, Charlie. It's like 100 million people. It's huge, right? It's giant empire. He goes, okay, because this is Charlie. He's very quantitative. And he goes, okay, and how many Bolsheviks were there? And I said, I don't know. At one point, probably about 1,000 in the whole country. And he says, well, how could a country that large succumb to a group that small? How could they do it? How could they take over the entire Russian Empire? And I said, Charlie, people didn't take it seriously. They didn't take it seriously. And now here we are a year and a half later, and people still aren't taking it seriously, Benny. They're not taking seriously the threat that if someone is willing to use, or a group of people is willing to throw off all shackles of morality and humanity, and to use the most brutal, vindictive, and bloodthirsty tactics imaginable, the Mangionis, the Tyler Robinsons, the Cole Thomas Allens, they're not going to stop. They are not going to stop until they're stopped.
We're incredibly thankful for the DOJ. It seems to have gotten supercharged under Todd Blanchard the last couple of weeks. Or maybe Todd Blanchard just like finishing the work and doing it quickly, right, to move on. But either way, we're thankful for the results. And the only way that you can possibly have a result here is to charge the SPLC, is to charge the people who are writing seashell notes of assassination or attacking Savannah. That's the only way that it'll stick. Or to go after the fraudsters and put them all in jail, and to like frog march them and show people. You can't do that. You have to show people. There has to be a gear that grinds against this. Otherwise, we'll all be dead, right?
It's a law of the universe. For every action, there needs to be an equal and opposite reaction. It's a law of physics.
The equal and opposite reaction happening to James Comey right now, and the man who's been investigating it and literally wrote the book on it is Jack Posobiec. Please go ahead and follow Jack here. Of course, he has millions and millions of subscribers, and Jack has a show available on Human Events and on RAV every single day. Also a proud turning pointer with me. And so thank you, Jack, for being in the fight.
Thank you. And I wore my Benny Johnson uniform today, so I wanted to be in solidarity here.
I noticed our backgrounds and everything we're slowly blending together. If only I just got to grow the beard,
Exactly. Yeah. Or I got to shave. Maybe we'll see.
Thank you, Jack. Godspeed.
Okay, that was a good interview with Benny there. Okay, I got about a 5-minute one with Ken Hexas with Nancy, one with the senator, and then 2 short clips. Nick's mom.
Listen, as a Minnesota lawmaker explains 2 Somalian men, one of them owns a daycare and says he's not ready to give up his daycare yet. He wants to buy more homes still. Listen to this.
When I was showing a text conversation between the owner of the center and a friend, the friend had asked the owner, how much longer are you going to do the daycare scam? The owner replied, another year or 2. I'm going to buy some nice homes in Nairobi. The owner was on public assistance at this time. They happened to be on vacation in Dubai.
Insanity, right? Most Americans do not even own a home. If you own a home in America, you are considered to be lucky. Yet the Somalian fraudsters running these daycares were collecting so much money that they were able to buy multiple homes in other countries and have a nice home in America and have multiple cars and even had enough money to go to Dubai. They would send a lot of their money out of our country. All along, they were collecting welfare. 80% of all Somalians in Minnesota are on welfare. And if you don't know this, they practice polygamy. So a Somalian man can have up to 4 wives. Each one of those wives will live in separate homes. Each one of those wives will be collecting government assistance. This video evidence right here is proof that we've been robbed. Let me know your thoughts on this one.
Okay, Nick's mom there. Then we got the other new lady on TikTok. She does the short ones.
That's what it is. You're looking at garbage. And yesterday, at the time of this recording, yesterday in Texas, the CEO mask fell off of Erica Kirk and she stepped in to the full-blown reverend persona. She described the serial moment and launched into a laundry list of things that we all need to be joyful for. Being slandered, count it all joy. Being lied about, count it all joy. Having Drewski make videos about you, count it all joy. I made that last one up. But every time people ask for clarity on like what happened with Charlie last September, anytime anyone asks like, what are we going to do about group violence on campuses across our country, count it all joy, eh? The reverend persona, anytime you put a little bit of pressure on Erica Kirk, the reverend persona gets louder. So listen, she disappeared for 10 whole days because the pressure on her to have a conversation about the accusations from the internet on her and her behavior around her husband's death, the pressure was mounting. Her PR team admitted that to a celebrity tabloid magazine, like a bunch of ding-dongs. And then she emerged for this to shame and yell at a bunch of people who were asking her questions. She even posted this clip to Turning Point USA, Faith.
Neutrality is no longer an option. It's a decision in itself. This is not a moment for trimming the truth so that it fits more comfortably in the spirit of the age. It'll take a kind of courage that can only come from a life fully anchored in Christ.
Neutrality is no longer an option. It's a call to arms, and she's trying to pass these things off as a prayer. So this preaching is a convenient way to make sure that nobody asks for a toxicology report, that nobody asks any more questions, that nobody asks to speak to Joe Kent. If she stays a CEO, she has to answer to the board. She is leaning so hard into this like martyrdom role while she is still potentially, possibly a person of interest in an active growth investigation. This is the whole point of Turning Point USA Faith, okay, and their curriculum. They teach biblical citizenship, which suggests that their version override the land of the law. I need you to really listen to this next part, because what she's actually saying and who she calls up onto stage next tells you way more than we were expecting to hear. So she is straight up telling the room that God does not want you questioning her. She is shaming this audience of pastors, by the way, who paid to come see her speak. $180 a ticket, and their wives had to pay, presumably their wives, because I'm assuming that none of these people are allowed to be uncloseted. She is telling them, if you ask questions about me, you are unholy and God is going to shame you. I'm going to shame you. If you have any questions, raccoon scan. Like the raccoon eyes, you're looking at garbage. That's what it is. You're looking at garbage. And yesterday, at the time of this recording, yesterday in Texas, the CEO mask fell off of Erica Kirk and she stepped in to the full-blown reverend persona. She described the serial moment and launched into a laundry list of things that we all need to be joyful for. Being slandered.
Okay, the last one's going to be 5 minutes.
Loud, loves. behind his
Acute waste
back
of your 5
and
minutes. A
blame people.
huge,
I reclaim my
huge
time.
waste of your 5 minutes that
I
led
reclaim
to
my
nowhere.
time. You are
Do not
repeatedly
pass go,
going
do not
behind the
collect
president's
gentleman
back.
from Colorado's time. Go ahead, Mr. Crow.
You are repeatedly going behind President Trump's back, appointing people who he has accused of lying, who the White House is
Gentleman's
accused of
time's
lying.
expired.
And you are not being honest with
the gentlelady
President
from
Trump.
South Carolina, Ms. Mace.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request unanimous consent to enter a number of documents into the record. The first of which is a statement from Corey Mills, First Sergeant, stating his forms and accounts of his military service are falsified. The second document is a picture of Corey Mills wearing a Bronze Star from 2019 before he ever got a Bronze Star. The third document is a document that conveys a Bronze Star medal and his life-saving care to the wounded. And according to the soldiers who were there, they said it never happened, according to the men who were there. The next document is a transcript of a conversation I had with Brigadier General Arnold Gordon Bray, who confirmed that he did not review, did not read, did not physically sign the form DD, I guess 638, form 638, that Mills submitted for a Bronze Star. And to be candid, he said, quote, I didn't look at it. I asked to review the email that he sent to Mills' staff about authorizing his signature for a form he did not review, and he said that he would not share it with me. That's a future subpoena. I would like to enter to record a picture of Corey Mills, who says this is the second time he got blown up, but what he wouldn't tell people that the blood on the pant leg in this photo is the blood of Sergeant Ray. It is not Corey Mills' blood. In the same series of photos he shares when he said he was, quote, blown up, are images of a Humvee that exploded with severe damage. That is not his Humvee. His Humvee purportedly was 50 yards away and suffered no damage and was not blown up. This is a copy of Corey Mills' marriage certificate with a 9/11 imam at a 9/11 mosque, entered for the record and redacted, with family members' names redacted and protected. This is a picture of Corey Mills with a purported Russian hooker in Afghanistan, which he of course denies. And then last but not least, I would like to request unanimous consent to enter into the record a restraining order against Corey Mills for dating violence. Thank you. I just buried my father on Thursday, Mr. Chairman. My father died with shrapnel in his body. He had 3 tours of combat, 2 in Vietnam, 1 in 1965 during the coup d'etat of the Dominican Republic. And I take stolen valor seriously because we have men and women in uniform that have given their lives. And an individual that steals the stories of dead soldiers or injured soldiers have no right to serve in this body, let alone on this committee. And so I take it very seriously. I want to thank you, Mr. Secretary, and the folks that serve under you in the Department of War. As my father lay dying on April 14th, there was only one thing that calmed him down, that gave him the courage to pass on to the next life. And that was for me to read stories and testimony from 3 different soldiers that we didn't have, our family previously didn't have. We've been doing a lot of research on my father's service when he received the Distinguished Service Cross with V device in 1968 in Dong Zai. He rescued every man in that battle, in that firefight, over a 2-day period. He rescued them dead or alive on his own. He stood up to take fire over and over and over again. He called on artillery, heavy artillery, onto his position within 100 meters of his position. The man should have never made it out of Vietnam alive. And in fact, his commanding officers kept him back in many cases because they thought he was on a suicide mission because he was just so dangerous out there. But he saved the lives of so many soldiers. And so as he was taking his final breaths, I was provided by the Department of the Army some testimony of soldiers we didn't have, and diagrams and information. It was the one thing that calmed him down so that he could pass away knowing that he was a war hero and knowing that Jesus loved him. And it changed our family's life, and it changed his life in his last moments, his last breaths, his last hours. And for that, I am so grateful for the ship that you're running at the Pentagon and the Department of War. I have heard from people in the way that you're trying to innovate and trying to change the way we do business there. And I'm glad that you're firing people. There are people there that are getting in your way. They need to go. And the efficiencies that you want to bring, whether it's shipbuilding, whether it's cyber, whether it's AI, whether it's public-private partnerships, we have never seen a secretary at the Department of War who has been as innovative as you have. So I can't say enough good things about you right now. I was impressed. I was concerned about troops on the ground in Iran early on, and I was impressed with where we are today, how those soldiers were evacuated that got in that flight that crashed. But everything I have seen, you have surpassed all of my expectations. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and God bless you.
For over 30 years, we built a reputation for building in.
Okay, everybody. Well, all right. I'm not gonna. Yeah, those 2 hours. No way I could have made 2 hours on that. So sorry about that. Long 35 minutes, but I got an extra 15 minutes to do a few other ones when we got off. So yeah, I'm just gonna come on when I can, and when I get a lot of intel, I'll come on. So there's not really no set time anymore because there's a lot of intel out there, and so just stand by and so God bless everybody and all, but reasons like, and thanks mods, Carol, Kay, Tim, Lucy, and Flying Eagle must have been working. So God bless, stay safe, stay strong, keep your faith, never give up. And tomorrow, what's tomorrow is Mayday, Mayday 1st. Is it Mayday time like you said 5 years ago? Yep. Cool be. Yep. So yeah, we'll stand by and just be on alert when I come on. Anything breaks, I'll be on. So signing off for Thursday evening. Chico and do till tomorrow, if not sooner. If we get anything. Oh, I already got the sign. Take it easy. Have a good Friday and looking forward to the weekend.